There we go. We should be starting momentarily, folks. Thank you for joining us. And bear with as we get everything set up and live across the rest of the world so that people can see the show wherever they are. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hang on, folks. We're just about there. I'm just trying to make sure that it's going to be able to be seen by everyone. Bear with me. Bear with me. Bear with me. I'll be right there. Yeah, it just got to make sure I'm the only one doing all the background stuff too, so takes a second. Takes a second. I hope everyone's had a good week. And can't. Okay. So, hello everybody, and thank you for joining us. This is No Soundbites Allowed. I am your host, Michael Voss, Dragon of the Southern Tier. I'm happy to be here with you this Sunday and every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to talk about the issues that matter to us all, that affect each and every one of us. And I'm happy to say that we're going to be able to see each and every one of you, to hear your voices, to hear your comments in tweets, in chats, in phone calls to 607-242-1582. You will see the numbers scrolling above. I see Dal is with us. Dal and his family are with us. Hello, Dal. First ones to comment. And Dal normally works the third shift, so it's always great to see that he's here with us. It's kind of like some of the viewers from overseas, especially like in Sweden and England, when they join us and they're able to be involved. I always am happy to see that, so I thank you for that. So we've got a lot going on here today, and there's just so much to talk about, and I do want to talk about it all. Now, if this is the first time you are seeing the channel, yes, my camera is different. My main camera broke, and so we're using a backup. So that's why it'll look a little different today. But as always, we are listening to hear what you have to say, your voice and comments about all the issues that could possibly affect us. So I want you to feel free to add your voice, to make your comments about all these issues. I want to talk about what's happening with North Korea. Did you know how many missiles have been fired at our allies in South Korea, in Taiwan, in Japan? Do you know how dangerous it is getting in the Southeast Asian Sea and how this is going to affect world stability? How about we talk about what's happening here in the United States with Senator Bob Menendez again? How about some of the other issues we've been seeing? What's going on with Secretary of State Blinken? What's happening in the Middle East? These are things that, while we see Democrats and the major media are trying to make you focus in a positive way on the election in a week, week and a half, the fact is there's big problems that are going on right now, and they're affecting everyone. And there is no rosy rainbow message that's out there. There are problems, and trying to make people feel good about it isn't making the world safer or better. That's a big deal. I know, and Dal has mentioned the race with Senator Ickes against Ralph Nader. I believe that's a very big one. Mike Bowie mentions, I would love to hear how Great Britain is dealing with the diesel problem. These are big issues, yeah. That is another serious and significant factor that is affecting us all. We're going to try and delve into a bunch of these things. Dal mentions that I've noted there is a very, very little coverage on the diesel shortage. Well, think about it. There's very little coverage on the food shortage that we've been talking about since March of 2022. There's very little coverage about the recession that we are in and have been in and is expected to last until 2024. So am I surprised by that? We're not going to hear about these things until a week after the election. Starting about November 15th, you're suddenly going to find out that America is in a recession that we already knew about. You're going to suddenly hear about the fact that inflation is going to be higher than what they've been expecting, and it's going to last longer than they told you it would. Suddenly, after November 15th, you're going to hear that there's a food shortage. Some 30 to 40% of the food in the world globally isn't there. And that nations throughout Africa, South America, we are seeing people starve right now, like in Ghana, like in Sri Lanka, like in Panama, that we are seeing this affect nations and changing governments. Oh, and it's also going to affect the poor people in America. That 25% of our shelves will be empty. And this isn't just going to last for the winter. This is a year-long shortage. No one is talking about that. We've been talking about it for an entire year. The major mainstream media won't talk about it. Why? It's not because the facts don't exist. It's because there's an election. And they don't want to tell you until after you can't do anything about it. Until after you can no longer react to it. So they want to get into all of that. I want to cover a couple of other things. Bear with me. Again, I'm doing some housekeeping internally as we're getting ready to start a show. So bear with me just one more second here. And Jan, I'm glad to see that you're here with us as well. I'm always happy to see all these voices. There we go. So I wanted to add the links for everything we're going to be speaking about so you can follow this and discuss this yourself. So let me start off the show talking about overseas, international news, because I think this is very important. You know what's going on with North Korea? See, this is important because of the stability of the world. It shows how much respect America is receiving in the world, how much fear is generated by the United States, how strong our leaders are, and that means whether or not there will be global instability. Will we see terrorists trying to attack American citizens and our allies all around the world? Will there be civil wars around the world? The more we see a weakness in the leadership in the United States, the more we see major nations ignoring the United States or attacking our allies, the more likely we are to see global instability. This is a consistent thing. So let's take a look at what's happening in North Korea. North Korea fires an additional 2 missiles just this week, October 28th. They're firing more missiles at South Korea, at Taiwan, at Japan. These are all allies of the United States. These are all countries that we have an agreement with to protect. 44 missiles this year have been fired by North Korea. This is the chart. There is no time in our past. This has never been more of an issue than it is right now. This is the definition of disrespect and a lack of fear. North Korea has never made such a statement. They have never threatened our allies as much as this. Now, I know a lot of people will say, well, Mike, yeah, they're firing missiles, but why should we care? These are hypersonic ballistic missiles that can carry nuclear weapons as well as chemical weapons. They are threatening our allies in South Korea, in Japan, and in Taiwan. This is a threat. These missiles, by sending off so many missiles, they are stating that they have so many missiles that they can waste them, firing 3 missiles a month or more, that they have so many missiles, they can waste them just to tell us how badly they can attack us. They are using these missiles to make sure our friends and allies are terrified on a regular basis and that they never get a break of this terror. This is a big deal. And this is also a statement that at no point in 2022 has Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or Nancy Pelosi, when she went on her world tour, they have had zero impact on the leadership and North Korea and therefore China. That there is no respect that has been given to them throughout the entire year. That they are considered weak and meaningless, and they do not deserve respect, which is a very big thing in Southeast Asian politics, which means the global stability has been going down. And this is an important thing to talk about, because as we go into this election, as we move forward, if we have leadership that is not respected around the world, you won't be safe. You, the American citizen, will never be safe if this country, if North Korea can do this. What can China do? What can Iran do? What can Venezuela, Cuba, Russia, what can all these other countries that do not like America and want to see America destroyed, what could they do? What will the Democratic Socialists of America do? People who do not like America, who want to destroy our Constitution, who want to rework, redefine everything. They want to destroy everything we have now to put in things they feel will be better, that they feel will be more in line with their ideas, not yours. We're talking about instability at every single step. That's what this is all about. And this is an example that, again, the mainstream media does not want you to think about this. They do not want to address this. They want you to think that the Biden-Harris administration have control over international politics, that Joe Biden, as he promised you in 2019, was well received and well respected around the world. Does this missile count look like he's well respected? Does this missile count look like he's someone who people believe in? Now, I have a comment here from, and let's go back. I have a comment from Swan Song 3, who says, "You don't make sense." Okay, Swan Song, what part doesn't make sense? It is a fact that North Korea has never fired as many missiles. They have never fired as many missiles ever in the history since 1984 when they became a nuclear power. That's a fact. It is a fact that they have fired more missiles this year than we have ever seen before, which is a reflection of a breakdown of international politics. That is a fact. We know that China is supporting North Korea and supports them when they make these attacks, which is why they target South Korea, Taiwan, and Japan. That is a fact. We know that Japan and South Korea have agreements with the United States. That is a fact. What part of what I have said, Swan Song 3, doesn't make sense? Let me ask you this, Swan Song 3. Do you take it that when a government is trying to have negotiations and they are being ignored and the very opposite of what they have asked for happens, do you see that as being a matter of respect? Again, I'm not picking on you, but if you're going to give me a 5-sentence, 5 words and say, you just don't make sense. You should just be silent. Explain yourself. Wait until Jesus Christ comes back soon for you. What is that, a death threat? Are you threatening me? I'm seriously. I want to understand this, Swan Song. Are you threatening me? Wait until Jesus Christ comes back soon for you. Not that you're expecting Jesus Christ to come back to earth to save everyone. You're not talking about Jesus and God coming to help save everyone. You said come back for me and soon. So you're isolating it. That sounds like a death threat. Did you just threaten my life? Because if you are, do better. I'm not afraid, and I'm not going anywhere. And, if God wants to take me, he can take me at any time, any second. I'm not afraid. Human beings, on the other hand, they're going to have a little bit of a problem. So no, I'm not afraid of that. So Swan Song, by the way, get back to the issue at hand. We're talking about America's place in the world, that America, as the police of the world, whether we like it or not, is failing because the leadership of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have failed, and they are being rejected. They are being laughed at around the world. which is increasing global instability. That's the issue, not whether or not Jesus Christ loves me. It's not whether or not you have a connection to God and God has told you whether or not they love me. That's not important to me. Your belief, your religious views have nothing to do with the conversation we're having. Don't distract the conversation. Don't jump away from what are you talking about. Swan Song 3, support your issue. You said that none of this makes sense. How? I'm showing you facts. I'm giving you the information, and I am asking you to draw a conclusion. What is wrong with it? See, folks, this is the thing that we see very often from some people. They don't think about this. They go with the headlines. They don't think it through. Because they don't see a headline saying Joe Biden is weak because North Korea is firing off missiles, they say, well, it can't be true. Well, yes, it can. And I'm showing you the evidence, and I have the links for it so that you can see it for yourself. Now, and Swan Song 3 thinks I'm lying about Jesus Christ. What do you mean I'm lying about Jesus Christ? Only thing I said is Jesus Christ, God can take anyone off the face of the earth at any time that they want. I'm not worried about it, and I'm not worried about my conversation with God. You shouldn't be worried about my conversation with God, and you don't have the information between my conversation with God. You don't have it. So again, you're trying to distract the conversation. Swan Song, we're talking about American politics, how it affects the world, and how the world is reacting. You don't have to worry about my relationship with God. It's mine. Worry about your relationship with God. And in the meantime, let's talk politics, because I'm not here to talk religion. And I never have. So don't worry about that part. Dow goes on to say, there was talk last year in Japan of housing some of the U.S.'s nuclear arsenal within their country. Wonder if a move like that would de-escalate the threat or increase the threat of an exchange. Well, that's a good question, Dow, because first of all, we have to understand, Japan has a very different view about nuclear weapons. I know a lot of people will say, well, they must be like everyone else. They want these weapons. And the fact is, the reason why they had movies like King Kong, movies like Godzilla, is because, and if you see the original movies of King Kong in Japan, if you see the original movie of Godzilla, the original 1958 film of Godzilla, that was an anti-war, anti-nuclear weapons movie. They do not like nuclear weapons in Japan. They do not like nuclear power in Japan. They are absolutely terrified of it. And considering Nagasaki and the 2 nuclear weapons that were dropped on them in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, I'm not surprised. So, one, it's a massive statement in Southeast Asia. If Japan allows the United States to put nuclear weapons in there, that means Japan is getting ready for war. That's how it's going to be seen. And I love the Godzilla movies. I love the King Kong movies. But if Japan is taking in nuclear weapons, a nation known for the fact that they absolutely despise nuclear weapons, that means that they're preparing for war, and it also means they have absolutely no faith in the United States to protect them. Because that is going to the extreme. That means everything else has failed. Diplomacy has failed. They have no faith and trust in what the United States can do to protect them. They have every belief that China is making aggressive moves and that North Korea has been targeting them 44 times this year, and that they know they have more than enough missiles to hit Japan, to hit all of their country, from Tokyo all the way up to the north, all the way to the south. They can hit every part of Japan. They know this. So if they are taking nuclear weapons, they are saying they are ready for war, which means that everything escalates. The problem gets worse. And if that triggers, and mind you, there's still the problems going on in Europe. There's still the Ukraine. This is why the major news media isn't talking to you about this. Again, let's think this through. You don't have to agree with me, but there are facts that are true. that we all know. And these facts have an impact. This is how the world is looking at it. And we have listeners who watch the show from the United Kingdom, from Sweden, from Japan, from India, and Russia. If they think I'm wrong, let me know. What is going on? Looks like one of my. Did I just get banned on YouTube? I got an internal message. It's telling me that I'm getting banned by YouTube or Facebook. I don't know. I think I just got kicked off of Facebook. That's fine. That's fine. It looks like I just got temporarily or permanently banned from YouTube or Facebook, but I'm going to keep going. So this is important to understand what's going on in Southeast Asia. And it's important to understand that because we also see at the same time that the Secretary of State Blinken is actively still trying to make a deal with Iran. Iran, a nation that is actively working with Russia against the United States, a nation that is the number one sponsor of global terror in the world, a nation that wants to kill Israel and the United States, regardless of your political background. And Secretary Blinken, at this moment, and let me quote this article, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken declined this week to state that nuclear talks with Iran are dead, despite a popular uprising challenging the authoritarian regime and evidence that Tehran is supplying Russia with kamikaze drones to strike civilians and infrastructure targets in the Ukraine. There's no forward movement, Blinken said. That the Iranians continue to try to inject extraneous, unrelated issues into their conversation about the Iran nuclear deal. With respect, is it dead forever, is the question. The answer, the regime that you would be essentially personally legitimizing by negotiating with is killing people who are protesting against it. Is that a terrible position for your government, for the United States government? Think about this. So we have, and this is important. So Blinken, at the same time that Secretary Blinken is trying to still make a deal with Iran over nuclear weapons, North Korea is using nuclear-capable missiles to attack our enemies. And they are stating we are weak. In Iran, looking at the weakness as identified by North Korea, is saying, hey, no problem. That means we can help Russia. That means that we can make deals with China about oil. It means that we can support global terror around the world and that we will get a better deal from the Biden Harris administration. All they have to do is wait because Biden and Harris are desperate for votes. They don't care. That is why they're so weak. They are trying to make everyone happy, feel good until they can get past the election. That everything they're doing is about getting votes, either for 2022 or 2024. Which is why we see that Antony Blinken, at this moment, this is an article from the 27th, 3 days ago. He's not willing to say, we won't make a deal with Iran. I mean, is it that hard to say that as long as Iran is supporting Russia in a war, that we're not going to have a nuclear conversation with Iran? Is it that hard to say that? That as long as Iran is supporting global terror, we're not going to have a nuclear deal with them. That we're not going to give them the money they want and the support they want beyond the amount of concessions that the Biden administration has made over the last 21 months. Oh, and if you don't know that, they've been making concessions. The United States has been giving Iran money. They have been giving them concessions, releasing some of the stipulations, some of the restrictions on Iran, just so Iran will talk to them about the deal. They've been doing that for 21 months. Iran stops speaking, they give them something, whether it's money or they lift certain sanctions. And then Iran says, oh, well, now we can talk to you again. They are basically buying off Iran. And Iran's saying, all we have to do is just wait and they will give us more because they are weak. And North Korea is proving it. And they're doing this because Joe Biden and Kamala Harris want a win. Because Democrats need a win. Because everything they have done to date has failed. Everything. Name one thing that has worked well. International policy, the United States economy, the global economy, national security, our southern border. Name an issue, and I guarantee you, the United States at this moment has failed under the Biden-Harris administration because of their policies. They are desperate for a win. They absolutely must have something to point to and say, we did it right, support us. Which is why they still want the Iran nuclear deal, to try and get a win. Now, if you don't think I'm right, that's okay. Tell me why. So let me go back to some of the comments here. So Dow had mentioned that talking about Japan, talking about Godzilla, talking about what Japan's point of view of nuclear weapons is, he mentioned that that was a good point. Hello user has been banned. It's good to see that you're here. Hi, I hope you're catching up to everything we're going on. Jan has confirmed that I was still live, but I know that I saw Facebook and Twitter, they started blinking on my side. I could see that there was an issue, but it looks like it's better now. May have been on Facebook. I guess they don't like me talking about international politics and being honest with the American people. Dow mentions that, well, he was having a conversation with an individual. I'll go on. That's what happened. Jan says that I was kicked off of Facebook because Swan Song 3 wanted to talk about religion. I got kicked off because I wasn't talking about religion. I'm talking about politics. Okay. So that's why Facebook didn't like it. Even though we can talk about religion, why can't we? Freedom of speech, freedom of religion. People should be able to make that statement. I didn't take offense by Swan Song possibly threatening me, but definitely mentioning religion. I'm not offended by that. Go ahead and say that. But that doesn't mean that we should shut it down. That's just terrifying to me. Dow mentions that every time I hear Blinken's name, I keep thinking of the character from Robin Hood, Men in Tights. That's funny. The blind servant. I get that. That's funny. Swan Song 3 says, I'm so sorry. I love you so much. Michael, well, thank you. I love you too. I love all humanity. I love human beings. I don't have to agree with you. You don't have to agree with me. And that's okay. But I'm only asking for clarity in the discussion so that we can understand each other. And by the way, if I'm not understanding you properly, call in 607-242-1582. The phone line is on right now. I just checked it. It's hooked up. Call in. If I don't understand, make it clear. Remember, what was it, 2-3 weeks ago? We had Joe Murray, the former NYPD police officer and currently an attorney in New York City, when he called in because there was a lack of communication. And he called in and said, hey, Mike, you misunderstand about Eric Adams. Here's what he knew about Eric Adams. We had the conversation. He disagreed with me. That's perfectly fine. I respect that, and I respect Joe for calling in and saying, no, it's not getting clear. Let me explain. So here we are, and we're looking at what's going on with Secretary of State Blinken, and it is showing weakness. Iran, think about that. Think about how weak they are. Look at the rest of the world. They are watching Iran actively give weapons. That's rockets, that's drones. This has been going on for a while. This isn't new. They have actively been watching Iran give rockets and drones and support to Russia, even as Joe Biden and Kamala Harris say, don't you dare stop that, or else, that we do not support that the United States is against that. And Iran has never stopped. In fact, they have increased what they have done. And at the same time, while they're doing this, and while Biden and company are saying, no, don't do that, they're also saying, please talk to us about the nuclear deal. Please agree to this nuclear deal. Really? Does that seem strong to you if you are Canada, if you are Cuba, if you're Venezuela, Brazil, Italy, France, Germany, Sweden, Switzerland, or the United Kingdom? You name the country in the world watching that exchange, watching Iran flaunt in the face of the United States and actively give rockets and drones to Russia for a war that the United States says don't get involved in. And the United States at the same time is begging Iran, please talk to us about this deal. Please talk to us about making this deal. What do we have to give you to make this deal? As Antony Blinken is willing to say, even at the worst of the moments, 3 days ago, in the worst of the actions against the United States, against international peace, against the interests of our allies and our friends, he's still willing to make the deal. Who in the world sees that as being strong in their leadership? Who in the world says, oh, well, America can actually get things done? The police of the world are actually doing their job. Or who sees this as being, America is willing to sell out anyone? They're willing to sell out any principle under the Biden-Harris administration. They can't get anything done, and no one cares. Because they're only worried about politics. They're worried about the headlines in Twitter. They're worried about the next election and not the consequences of what it takes to get to that next election. If you think I'm wrong, tell me why. Let me go back to some of the comments here. Hi, Hot Chicks. Always good to see you. Always happy to have you with us. Blinken, Biden, and Crackles sounds like a corrupt law firm in a nursery rhyme. That's funny. That's funny, Dow. Dow mentions that this is one of the reasons why they tried to buy votes through student loan forgiveness. Yeah, well, again, it's the same principle. Whether it's student loan forgiveness, whether it's talking about sending out checks for inflation, which creates inflation, whether it's passing the Inflation Reduction Act that actually increases spending by $400 billion, something that will actually increase inflation and doesn't help anyone. You know, they're willing to do whatever it takes to make you feel good as long as you don't think about the consequences, that they're going to hurt you more. And that's the big deal. User has been banned since. I wonder what the people in Hiroshima and Nagasaki are saying. A lot of that generation saw the aftermath and lived that hell that have died. The first sign is them relooking at their pacifist constitution. Honestly, again, I will say, user has been banned. If we see Japan with that history, with that view of nuclear firearms, including even nuclear energy, if they're allowing nuclear weapons into their nation, they are mobilizing for war. That is my belief. That means they do not believe the United States will protect them. They do not believe that they are safe from China or North Korea, and they think that they have to prepare for war because they're going to be attacked. That's the way I see it. Now, if there is anyone from Japan or from North Korea or South Korea that would like to tell me about this and tell me, Mike, I think you're wrong, I'd be happy to hear your comments. But this is important because the 2022 midterms is about this. The 2024 election, the 2022 election are all about this. So you need to consider this, because if our government is weak from top to bottom, these are the consequences. This is what we're talking about. This is war that we are talking about down the road. Okay. Sorry, I'm getting contacted by some organizations about elections, so that's another thing altogether. But let's move forward. Now, we always start this show, we talk about the international because the international has an impact on the United States. I think I've been making it very clear how U.S. policy with China, with North Korea, is impacting Southeast Asia, and that is bringing us closer to yet another regional war. And we have all long said on this program for more than a year, it's not going to be World War III, it's going to be 3 regional wars. And one of the regions is Southeast Asia. That's China, that's North Korea against U.S. interests, against our allies, against Taiwan. That's one regional war. There is another regional war going on right now. That's Ukraine-Russia. So that's 2. The third one is in the Middle East. But before we can get to that, and we're talking about that, remember, we have no support that's coming to us when we look at what's happening in the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom, first they lost Liz Truss, who we, on this program, as you may recall, said we did not think she was a good choice. We looked at Kemi Badenoch, and that's who we were betting for, who was thrown out of the race. For Liz Truss, the shortest prime minister ever in the history of the United Kingdom. She was gone almost as soon as she got in because she was too busy virtue signaling, hiring people because of the politics, the view, the look of these individuals, like an all-women cabinet, not because they were the best people, not because they were universally seen as being the best individuals, but because they were just women and women of color. Virtue signaling, kind of like the Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson got hired not because she's the best judge, not because she was the best qualified, but because she was black, a Democrat, and a woman all at the same time. And that's it. That's all it took. She virtue signaled her way into one of the highest seats in the land. Well, that's what Liz Truss did too. So Liz Truss gets kicked out, and Rishi Sunak gets put in place. Instantly, we get Rishi Sunak, who Joe Biden can't pronounce his name, shockingly. And Rishi Sunak, who we also did not support. And again, we wanted Kemi Badenoch. But Rishi Sunak gets in, a rich boy who pretends to be a blue collar worker, kind of like Beto, the fake Hispanic O'Rourke, Robert O'Rourke down in Texas running for governor. He's also another fake middle-class blue-collar worker. Rishi Sunak goes out and he rehires Suella Braverman, a woman who was fired in disgrace 6 days before. So Liz Truss hires her as part of the virtue signal. She screws up her job, gets fired, and then 6 days later, she gets rehired by Sunak, the new prime minister, who's also virtue signaling. Now, you're going to say to me, Mike, that's the United Kingdom. Why is that important? Because that's our greatest ally. That is the strongest, greatest ally of the United States in the world. Israel is very high up there. Israel is really close. But there is no country in the world that has more of a connection to and solidarity with the United States than the United Kingdom. That's a fact. That's our history. It's not a question, it's a fact. And if the leadership in the United Kingdom is as weak, is as virtue signaling as the United States, what the hell's happening to the rest of the world? What's going to happen? I mean, I'm being honest here, folks. If we have a weak leader in the United States and we have a weak leader in the United Kingdom, Europe has no one protecting them. The rest of the world is looking at weakness and they're saying, oh, we got to defend ourselves, which makes more countries isolated. It makes them more aggressive. It makes them more likely to try and build up their armies, build up their weapon arsenals, which leads us closer to war. That's just a fact. So the more we see the virtue signaling coming out of the Sunak prime minister as a result of the Liz Truss prime minister debacle, at the same time that we are seeing Joe Biden being ineffective, and useless, and Kamala Harris, useless beyond belief, we're going down a path that leads us to more regional wars like the Ukraine-Russia, like China versus Taiwan, North Korea versus South Korea, and Japan. It leads us closer to a conflict which brings the world into war. Now, you may disagree with that. Agent Black is with us. Hello, Agent Black, who is from the United Kingdom. Maybe he thinks I'm wrong. But it's insane. And Agent Black has some comments about this. He's from England, from the United Kingdom. So I do want to get involved with that. So give me a moment. I'm just trying to look through some of the comments here because I know everyone's speaking as I'm speaking. And I am paying attention to you. Jan mentions that the U.S. says don't get involved yet. Aren't we involved with the billions of dollars of weapons and dollars and actual money sent all over the world, especially in Afghanistan? And yes, Mike Bowie mentions no one trusts the United States after the debacle of Afghanistan, where we ran away. We literally created an army of terrorists in Afghanistan, and we've abandoned somewhere between 200 and 5,000 American citizens to this day that news media will not talk about because, American citizens might be a little bit upset and vote because they're upset that the Biden-Harris administration and Democrats in general abandoned thousands of Americans, which could be you, because they're doing it to the people in 10,000 Americans in Ukraine right now. It could be you. They've abandoned the state of Texas. They've abandoned the state of New Mexico. They've abandoned the state of Arizona. And when I say that, I mean they've abandoned you to the southern border. They've opened up the border. They've abandoned you to illegal aliens entering into America. They've abandoned American citizens along the border to drug gangs, to sex slaving gangs, to child abuse gangs. That's what they've opened up the southern border to. And they won't talk about it. They won't look at it. They won't even think about it. And the news media is avoiding it massively. They don't want to talk about the 2.5 million illegal aliens that have entered the United States that we caught. They don't want to talk about the fact that there have been 5 million illegal aliens entering America, the fastest and largest rate of illegal aliens ever under the Biden-Harris administration, because they have no plan. The door is wide open. We have had terrorists. We have caught terrorists entering America through the southern border to attack our sitting and former leaders of the United States, and they don't want to talk about it. The threat is real. So yes, this is a problem on so many levels. And they don't want you to think about it until after November 8th. November 15th is when they're going to talk about these things. And November 15th and going forward, they're going to start blaming it all on Republicans as they give the power over to the Republicans by January, because everything's going to be Republicans' fault as it falls apart all around us. That is what I think. I will get back to that. I'm just trying to catch up with the comments. Agent Black mentioned that Sunak was always going to be prime minister. Truss was just put in to accomplish some goals and be the fall guy. Well, I don't know that Sunak was always going to be prime minister. But even so, I never wanted him to be prime minister because I think Sunak is like Beto O'Rourke. He is a walking problem. He's a lie, a walking lie, and doesn't achieve anything positive. So I have a big problem with him. Agent Black mentions that he's banned fracking and wants CBDC in the next year or two. He's not very conservative, is he? Let me see here. I'm just trying to catch up. The diesel, Mike Bowie is asking, in the United Kingdom, what's the cost of diesel? Still expensive, but still available at the moment. See, the thing to keep in mind, folks, is We have used up the United States oil reserve. This is a bad thing because our friends and allies overseas, they're not going to get any help because we're not energy independent. So just like we weren't able to send natural gas over to Germany to help them, the same thing about the United Kingdom. When they need diesel and it's more expensive and they can't afford it, the United States can't help them either because we can't even help ourselves. Why? Because we're not energy independent anymore. Because we had a leader named Joe Biden who on the first day he showed up, signed up with a pen stroke and said, hey, I'm firing 11,000 of our energy workers. I'm going to shut down a deal with one of our neighboring countries, Canada, and cut them off. I'm going to take away money from the pockets of American citizens, tens of thousands of them. And by the way, I'm going to make America energy dependent again, putting Saudi Arabia, putting their hand deep into the American pockets. That's what he did. With the signing of one of his signatures on January 20th of 2021, that's what Joe Biden did. And everything we're seeing about the energy crisis right now is just a consequence of that moment, of that one signature, of that one careless thought, because he was too busy trying to laugh at President Trump. He was too busy trying to give himself a pat on the back saying, look how progressive I am, green energy. And the world has suffered since that day, including right now with the United Kingdom and their cost of diesel, Germany with the cost of natural gas, and here in the United States, the 58% increase in electricity costs, in the cost of fuel, whether it's gas or diesel. This is all because of Joe Biden and that one signature. But you're not supposed to think about that until after November 8th, after you've made your vote, so that it's not his fault. Isn't that insidious? Because that's what they're doing. Let me go back to some of the comments. Let me see. I left off here. Agent Black, talking about the United Kingdom, says the government puts 75% tax on diesel and energy companies reporting record profits. We've stopped paying the fuel bill in its entirety. Just pay what we were paying before. There's only 25 days of fuel left here in the United States. That's Mike Bowie. Yes, that's true. The UK has about 2 weeks of capacity. John Cordisco says that the 10th caller with the correct answer is the next British Prime Minister. You're funny, John. Okay, so let me continue. So that's dealing with the overseas. And I want you to understand that overseas, this is important because, again, this affects the United States. The weak leadership of the United States leads to weak leadership in the rest of the world, which makes the world more deadly, more dangerous. The more that people do not respect the United States or fear the United States, the more expensive food and clothing and energy gets around the world, the more likely that we are to see terrorists try and kill American citizens and Iranians and the British, all of our allies and friends around the world. These things are interrelated and interconnected intimately. You cannot separate one from the other. So it is important that we address that. And that's why we look at that every time on this show in the beginning of the show. And I'm going to be moving on in a moment, but I want to make sure that this is clear because you're being lied to. Did you remember that there is global warming? Remember that America are the bad guys because America isn't doing enough. Well, the answer is no one in the world is doing enough. Every single nation that went to that Paris climate change summit failed. Everyone in Europe failed. By the way, Europe is more than 6 times behind the United States in trying to get global warming, greenhouse gases under control. In fact, you could combine all of Europe together, and they are more than 6 times behind the United States since 2015. That is a fact. The United States leads the world by multiples on reduction of greenhouse gases. We are the climate change leaders of the world. And every nation in the world has failed because they don't care, because it's not important. Because if you have to compare global trying to live up to some left-wing extremist dream of utopia versus staying warm in the winter, guess which one's going to win? But there is a comment, and this comment comes from NBC News, and this was on 2 days ago, October 28th, and this is what they had to say.
So, Dr. Jackson, I mean, the world is now no stranger to seeing unprecedented and extreme weather patterns, deadly floods, seemingly endless wildfires and heat waves. So environment.
Let's remember, the world has always had wildfires, floods, heat waves, tsunamis, hurricanes. There have always been these things, and they have always varied in the amount of intensity that they have been, even before we started recording these things. And if anything, they seem to be more in line with the sunspots on the people who don't know. The sun has sunspots about every 11 years. There's a cycle to that. And when we see the sun flare up in these cycles, we tend to see more disasters in the world. But that should have nothing to do with climate change whatsoever. On the history of climate change, the fact that the world has already, without human beings ever existing, we have had this planet be a complete ball of sand, and we've had it be a complete ball of ice without human beings ever existing. But no. Now, this moment, the answer is global warming. Okay, let's go on. Let's see what else they have to say.
Mentally, what is at stake here if we just continue down this same path?
Well, you're absolutely right.
Here's something. NBC News says, what happens if we go down this path? What is this path? This is important. We have to understand it. What is this path? Because this path is feeding the world. More people are getting fed in this world than ever before. Remember, the same climatologists, these same climate crisis people, they told you in 1958 that the world would end because of a global famine. They were wrong. Why? Technology. That's why. They told you that there would be global warming. They told you there would be global freezing. They don't know. And by the way, not one scientific projection by the climate industry has ever been correct. These are all facts. I'm not telling you anything that isn't factually true. So they're saying if we continue down this path of feeding the world, that's the path we're on. Feeding the world. The path of increasing the quality of life for everyone in the world. The highest level of quality of life in the world exists right now because of technology. Most of that technology created by the United States, pushed around the world by the United States. That's what they're talking about. They want to end the increase in quality of life. They want to end the amount of food that is being shipped and fed to people around the world. They want to end all that because they've got a picture of a hurricane that happens every year, no matter what you do. No matter what you do, next year there's going to be a hurricane. There's going to be a tsunami. There's going to be a flood. There's going to be everything you could possibly think of. There's going to be an earthquake. That's going to happen every year, no matter who's in charge, no matter what policy you have, because that's the earth. This is what they want to take away from you. But no one is talking about it because they're not thinking about the consequences. What they are talking about is ending, or rather increasing, global famine. What they're talking about is increasing the number of people who die because they don't have enough heat in the winter. What they're talking about is people dying because they don't have enough air conditioning for the summer. What they're talking about are people dying because they can't travel from where they are to somewhere else. They want to decrease the global quality of life. This is what they're talking about so that they the far left feel good, not because it's actually making anyone's life better, but because they feel good, and more importantly, because you obey. Let's go on to see what they say.
Right. We've turbocharged the weather and turned climate into a monster.
Wait a minute. Human beings don't control the weather. We've turbocharged the weather. We can't predict the weather. We have no idea what the weather is. My God, the arrogance of this man. We turbocharged the weather. We don't understand the weather. We have never understood the weather. Climatologists have never gotten it right. Not once. Not one projection, not one graph, not one chart, not one prediction has ever come true. And he wants to say we're in charge of the weather. No, we're not. You arrogant SOB. You have no idea what you're talking about. But let's go on. Let's see what else he has to say.
A few months ago, a third of Pakistan was flooded. What officials...
Two months ago, a third. How often does that happen? Why did it happen? What did it have? What were the contributing factors? Are you telling me it's because of climate change? Was it because they have too much pollution? Because they're over damming and overusing the rivers? I mean, let's go on.
They're called a monsoon on steroids. It isn't just halfway around the world. Here in the U.S., we're paying $100 billion more each year for weather disasters than we were just a few decades ago.
Wait a minute, we're spending $100 billion. Inflation. We're spending $100 billion more on everything because we're putting in more programs. By the way, if this is so correct, oh my God, the United States is following me. Remember, the Obama administration, we've been plugging money into this left and right. They have been pushing this since 2009. The problem isn't the amount of money we're spending, it's what we're spending it on and the fact that none of this has any impact. Folks, this is ridiculous stuff. Let me get back to some of the comments here. It is insane. But this is what they want you to believe in. This is what they want you to talk about. This is what they want you to vote on. Aren't you afraid? They have the answer. Their answer is right. Your answer is wrong. Obey. Don't think. Obey. It doesn't matter. Don't think about the consequences. It doesn't matter what they're saying. Obey. I will tell you, don't. Think. Think first. Consider the consequences. Consider what they are benefiting from. Oh, and we have our
Think first.
John?
Consider the consequences.
Yes.
Consider.
Turn down your background noise. Turn down the background.
And we have our.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot about that.
That's all right.
Hey, Mike, how's it going?
I'm okay. How are you?
Oh, well, it's funny. I was reading a couple of articles a few days ago. Two of them. One is they think they found the tomb of the person they consider what we call Santa Claus.
What?
And it was in Turkey. It was in Turkey. And they found it beneath an old church that they had to rebuild 1,500 years ago because the sea was rising and they had to move it.
Happens all the time.
1,500 years ago.
Wow.
And also the other story I saw, there's this huge wind farm in Germany that they're going to take down the entire wind farm and the small village next to it because it sits in a large coal deposit and they need the coal, so they're tearing it all down to get to the coal.
It's amazing to me. See, they always like to make it seem like this has never happened before. We are shocked and amazed, and it's all because you didn't listen. No, that's a lie.
I remember reading, because I like U.S. history, at the start of the Revolutionary War, of course, takes a long time in communications and sailing across the ocean for Britain to reinforce the military in the colonies.
Mm-hmm.
And one summer gave a break to George Washington because the Thames River froze over, I believe it was in June or July of that year, and the people in England called it the year without summer.
Yeah, I think that was about the same time or as a reaction to the mini ice age that took place in Europe and the entire world. Yeah, and sometimes when there are when Krakatoa, the volcano exploded and it dropped global temperature because it's the largest volcano at the time, largest volcano in the world, and it dropped the world temperature. They've they like to make us think that these things have never happened before. History's filled with it.
I was in Plymouth, Massachusetts over 20 years ago, and then the Rock, for the Pilgrims, got 1620 on it.
Yeah.
And the guy was explaining, the Park Service guy was explaining that the shoreline was about 100 feet farther out in the ocean because over time, he says, the tide just wears out the coast. I says, yeah, it's just a natural thing, and everybody laughed. Yeah. So it's insane,
But they want us to be terrified.
You were mentioning something about November 15th. What was going to go on November 15th? I missed that part.
That's when they're going to be announcing that we're in a recession. They're going to be announcing the food shortage. They're going to announce the fact, they're basically going to start telling us about all of the failures.
I'm very disappointed because the 16th is my birthday. Can they wait a day? I mean, that would be a nice birthday present for me. Boy, I'll tell you, they got to ruin everything, don't they?
They really do. And they're really going to try.
Maybe I'll wait. No, maybe I'll wait to read the story on the 16th. That way it'll be new to me, so we'll still count.
And they'll just have a new way of saying it, but they're going to blame it all on the right.
I'm not putting down misery for people, but you have to laugh. You have to laugh. There's no other way to get through this craziness without just laughing at them.
It's not funny because so many people are being affected.
I know that, but the only way we're going to beat these clowns is by everybody laughing at them.
I guess you could say that, but I don't want to laugh at them. I want to change the laws that they're putting in there. I want to stop PayPal from trying to silence people's First Amendment rights and free speech by taking away their money. I want to stop the disinformation governance boards that they keep trying to put into businesses to silence us. I want to see people get the opportunity to live without the government standing over your back trying to micromanage every step.
I very rarely do this, but I noticed in the comment section from Dale that she feel that Social Security was a pay it forward program. What the pay it forward program is basically a Ponzi scheme.
Yes.
A Ponzi scheme and a pay it forward program are the exact same things.
Well, no, because one is approved by the government and the other one isn't.
The pay it forward means you got to have people that are after you put in. And when you start collecting, they have to pay for you. That's a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, but one's approved by the government and one isn't.
Right. It's always been a Ponzi scheme. So
yes.
Everybody thinks that there's all these billions and trillions sitting in this account that Social Security has put in. It's not true. That was raided decades ago.
Many decades ago. It's like 4 or 5 decades ago.
Yeah, I think the rest of it finally was done in the 80s, I believe, was the end of it. Oh, you look like Sherlock Holmes there. I noticed you're smoking a pipe now.
I'm out of cigarettes.
Oh, is there anything in there that's legal in New York?
No, tobacco.
Well, tobacco, the way they're being taxed, is probably more expensive than weed. I mean, we were young. When we were young, it was the polar opposite.
Yeah, but no, it's just tobacco. I just don't have any cigarettes at the moment, so.
Oh, that's okay. No, actually, you're probably better off with that.
Well, yes and no. But,
well, you don't pay the heavy taxes, even though they are taxed pretty good. You don't have to pay the heavy taxes. It was funny when I had my store. I used to sell the loose cigarette tobacco.
Mm-hmm.
And when the big taxes came in from New York State, it went from $8.99 a bag to almost $25. But what they did was there's other kinds of tobacco based on volume and size and everything that was like $10. So it's really weird how that works out with the taxes on tobacco and other things. But just do what I do. I buy my smokes in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, well, I don't drive, so a little harder. And money is tight. You got to pay other bills first.
Yeah, but it's funny. It's funny, though. Even when I used to own a convenience store,
mm-hmm.
I drive back and forth. It's a 45-minute trip back, round trip. That's counting shooting the breeze, and having a Coke or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to save $72, which was a nice trip for 2 cartons. Now I save like $40. But for 45 minutes of my time, I'll save $40. I'll do that all day.
Well, that's because they don't think it through. The politicians don't think through hey, we're going to do this 15 minutes away is another state that's going to have an entirely different deal that's going to take our money away. They don't think about it. They don't think these things through. But
I read somewhere that in New York State, and this is from the state's checking and polling and where they confiscate illegal cigarettes in New York. 58% of all cigarettes sold in the state of New York are illegal, contraband.
Shocking, it's not.
More than half.
Of course, because it's too expensive. Look at the tax. They're not thinking these things through. They have never thought this through because it's not about thinking. It's about making people obey. And it's
the top three reasons why my business collapsed. I shouldn't say collapsed, but got really, really the revenue went way down.
Mm-hmm.
Well, two of them are local politics, and we know the people that did that, you and I. But the third one was the cigarette tax. People don't understand in these little stores like mine, there's millions of us in New York State, mom and pop stores, we used to call them. When you get that traffic every day to buy cigarettes, when that traffic disappears, they don't buy anything else because they're not there anymore.
Right. You're broken their routine.
Soda. Yeah. You don't get that traffic. You don't pick up a bag of chips or a soda or a can of something. Or you just don't do it. And all these little places over time, in fact, you and I both know from being in New York that I would guess 90% of the privately owned convenience stores have illegal cigarettes on the counter. You and I both know it, and we've known it for years.
Yeah.
And they used to, taxation and finance used to go to all these stores and try to catch them.
They still kind of do. Kind of.
Well, what happened was they were getting too successful with one class of people, we'll say, and so they were screaming racism, so they stopped doing it.
That's stupid. That's a stupid reason to stop, but I think it's also because if you were to close down all the bodegas and the little stores, mom and pops here and there, that are selling these cheaper cigarettes, that you would wind up losing so many.
You make 5 times as much money. People don't understand something. When you sell cigarettes, you see the sign, it's called state minimum.
Yeah.
You're only making 7 cents on a dollar.
Yeah, but that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about
that's the state minimum. Now, what I'm talking about is cigarettes brought in, say, from Native American reservations and sold under the counter.
I understand, but the point is that if the state authorities were to go through, and this is happening in New York, but it's happening in other states too, and if they were to shut down every mom and pop bodega that was doing this, the impact in the net loss of revenues to the state for just the property taxes alone, not including the sales taxes, and the loss of business that would be happening in those communities, they would hurt more than they're going to help, which is why they are not doing it. That's the main reason why they aren't doing it.
Hang on a second, my phone's ringing off the hook from polling for election candidates.
Yeah, I had a poll myself.
Actually, I answered a few of them. The ones that I usually get, because I'm a registered Republican, is the polls for Zeldin and Rich David. For those of you are
no, I didn't get Rich David
from the area. Rich David is in New York, running for the New York State Senate.
Nope, I got Zeldin, Molinaro, and Trump. Why they're asking me about Trump, I don't know.
Well, you get a few. I mean, there's still people that candidates want to see if
he's not on a ballot
with Trump.
He's not on a ballot in 2022 and won't be until 24.
No. What candidates want to know, say you're a Republican candidate running for an office, and you're running for Congress, we'll say. They want to know if you associate yourself with Trump, whether it's going to hurt you or not, so they ask.
I get they're trying to do that, but really, the more that they ask about it, the more they make him a factor in the race, so it's not a big deal.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But this was a poll that's coming out of Siena College. So it's one of the more credible polls. Let me ask you something completely different.
Sure.
Let's change track. Because I know a lot of people are interested in about Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul Pelosi. Now.
Oh, you mean the attack with the hammer?
Yes, the hammer attack on Paul Pelosi.
None of this makes any sense at all.
Okay, let me stop you right there for a second. I had this conversation on the Liberty First Foundation on Friday with a couple of my associates. And we brought up a very interesting thing. We are led to believe that Paul Pelosi, who had previously gotten into a drunk driving accident with another individual that the media refused to identify, not by sex, not by name, not by any manner. That person who's we don't know about, but we are told that a man got into the neighborhood, climbed over a wall that surrounds Nancy Pelosi's property, evading the security measures and attack dogs that they have for the Speaker of the House's home, which they would protect and is paid for by the United States to protect.
I don't know if you wait, but I'll cut you off before you continue because I don't know if you heard this or not. Paul Pelosi knew the guy.
Well, the guy's in his. I'm pretty sure he did, considering the guy's in his underwear. That's part of what I was saying.
There was a 911 dispatcher that said when Paul Pelosi called 911, he said, "There's a guy here that's a friend of mine."
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I think this is a domestic dispute.
Well, here's the weird part. They showed a picture of the glass broken, the window on the outside.
Yeah.
The glass was broken towards the outside of the building.
Yeah. The glass is falling the wrong way.
This whole thing, and if this guy's a friend of Paul Pelosi, the Speaker of the House's husband, this guy is a total whack job.
Well,
how the hell is anybody with that kind of money and influence and people that you know are personal friends at 2:30 in the morning with this whack job? That none of this makes any sense.
Wait a minute. Was he a whack job before or after someone touched his media accounts? I know this is people will say, "Well, this is conspiracy theory." Let's be honest.
This guy's
wait.
The guy said that he's got a history of being a whack job for a long time.
Yeah, lots of people say that. But let's be very clear. We have intelligence agencies that work around the world to do what they call disinformation campaigns, to destroy the credibility of various individuals, to insert information into various sources like Facebook that they have agreements with, that is working with the FBI and other organizations. So I haven't seen this guy's page. I haven't seen them quote and show us images of his previous odd statements.
Oh no, he's just, when I say nut job, I mean he's a far progressive leftist.
Well, yes, but I'd still like to see his information because they won't show it to us. I mean, it'd be so easy to prove. Well, he's a nut job. Show us the information.
He obviously didn't break in.
He didn't break in. Which
you don't
means
have to be Sherlock. You don't have to be Sherlock Holmes with your pipe there to figure it out.
Exactly. He didn't break in. He didn't run around San Francisco in his underwear to break in over a wall.
Let me see if I understand the premise. You get by all these walls, all this security, the second in line to be president of the United States. You break in the house with a hammer, and the person that's there is elderly in his 80s, is sleeping, and picks up his hammer to defend himself. Who the hell leaves their hammer on the nightstand?
Who uses a hammer to defend themselves?
Yeah, but how do you find a hammer at 2:30 in the morning out of a sound sleep? You get up, we grab the hammer off the nightstand? It makes no sense.
None of this makes sense because this is all crazy.
So
because this isn't real.
Then you have to ask yourself, why are they lying?
Because it would be embarrassing to Pelosi to have her husband identified as possibly being bisexual and having a argument with their lover that their agreement, similar to the Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton agreement with Huma Abedin and all the underage children of Bill Clinton, allegedly, these are all alleged things, that this alleged agreement they had, that as long as you don't get caught, you can do it, is now exposed.
So if she divorces, the guy gives up half her insider trading profit.
Yeah, but she could lose an election. That's what she's more concerned with. Honestly,
she could never lose her seat, the seat that she runs for.
Sure,
she could. God forbid, I don't want anything to happen to her, but she could pass away and she would still win.
No, she can lose. Everyone can lose.
In San Francisco district, as a Democrat?
Yes.
Not a chance.
You just need a bad enough scandal.
What does we have to ask ourselves when the rumor goes she's going to be the ambassador to Italy? I wonder if Paul's going to join her.
Don't know if Paul's going to show up, but she's definitely going to Italy. That's my opinion of it.
As my father is 100% Italian, I descend from Italian heritage. I'm offended.
Why?
Well, no, you're offended at everything. So Nancy Pelosi being my representative to my father's people's home country is offensive to me.
Nancy Pelosi is offensive as is, but this is the thing, and we're being lied to about this.
Well, the funny part is the new prime minister in Italy is clearly ultra right, even though she's just a conservative. I wonder how she'll react when Pelosi brings, I guess they bring papers to the Italian government, saying I'm the new ambassador and all that. That will be an interesting meeting, those two.
I love it. Chat's talking about banning assault hammers. These are tactical assault hammers. We have to protect the people. These assault hammers are going to be deadly. It's not protected. Yeah.
Well, they banned knives in London for a while because of all.
They still do.
Because you can't get. It's hard to get a gun, so everybody was stabbing each other. So then they banned knives. I'm like, really?
No, they still are, and it's the same argument that we have here in the United States about assault weapons.
No, this is why at the beginning when we started talking today, I'm laughing because if you don't laugh at all this craziness, you'll make yourself nuts with it.
No, I just want people to vote in the elections.
I'm not laughing at people's misery, or I'm not laughing at any. It's you have the way the progressives are really and truly losing. Even Saturday Night Live is turning against them now.
Well,
I mean,
they should be. They should be.
Well, they're a little late, but that's somewhat of a canary in the coal mine for them.
I guess it is, but look at where we are. I mean, let's talk about this for a second. You saw my video on yesterday about the Josh Riley, New York 19. You saw it, right?
I saw part of it.
Okay. You know the subject matter.
Yeah.
So let's bring this up. I'm going to try. It's a little tricky, folks, but let me explain. So there are supporters of Josh Riley, the New York 19 candidate, Democrat, that are racist. And they make racist attacks. They have been racistly attacking me. And I have the evidence, and I have shown the evidence of these racist attacks. And the left, Josh Riley, a person who knows me, will not say a word, will not denounce this.
You have to understand the double standard. If you're a progressive Democrat, you cannot be a racist. Black people cannot be racist. Only right-wing people can be racist. You have to understand the rules.
Well, the rules are wrong. I can show you that this individual who is on Twitter, I love type_2022, is being racist. I have the video.
No, Mike, that's your truth. That's not their truth.
No, I have. It's not even about. It's not my truth. It's an empirical fact.
It's like you're right. It gets cold in the winter in North America, but that's your truth.
No, see,
that's
I
the
can't
way they
that.
think.
I don't care what they think. I don't care how they think. I don't care how they think because it's wrong.
You have to care to a certain extent because right now they're in charge.
Well, that's why I'm trying to make sure people vote because I think it's absolutely wrong. Hang on. I think it's wrong. You can tell me if you disagree, but I think it's wrong that someone who has stood up and said that they stand for the people, that they're trying to defend and protect people against racism, against racial attacks, that same person, when presented with one of their own supporters doing racial attacks that are supporting racism, they will be silent. That means that this person is a liar. And it is even compounded worse because that Josh Riley has known me for 7 years, has my personal phone number. We have gone out and had drinks. He's introduced me to his dad when we were hanging out one time. This man knows me, and he will allow someone else, one of his supporters, to racially attack me in the worst manner whatsoever. It's not a question. It's absolutely repugnantly racist, and he will allow that to happen and remain silent because he's going to get a vote.
No, Mike, by taking it personally, they're winning. Don't take it personally.
This is professional.
Laugh it off and laugh. You have to laugh it off and laugh at it.
No, I don't. No, I absolutely do not.
As a friend of yours that's known you for a long time, that is my best advice: is you can't let them get to you.
No, I get this. You know as well as I do. I get this on a regular basis. It's not that he's racially attacking me. I don't care about the racists. I was attacked in my business for years, right to my face. I know what you mean. Yeah, I get it all the time. I'm a black conservative Republican. I get attacked about racism all the time. They call me a racist and Uncle Tom all the time. I don't care about that. I care about that there is a candidate running for New York State's Congress who is out there right now duplicitously lying to people and trying to get votes on the back of a lie of racism when he demonstrably will not care. And that means if he doesn't care about people, what's he going to do when he gets in office?
I'm not commenting on the fact that you're bringing it up and showing the incredible hypocrisy of it all. What I mean is that they want to get to you for some reason, or they've been caught, saying things about you, and you let it get under your skin. And my advice is expose them for the hypocrites they are without letting it get under your skin.
Oh, it's not under my skin. It's not under my skin. I don't take this. I could care less. They've done this so many times. It's not personal. Yeah. It is something I'm passionate about, but I'm passionate about what's happening.
But you act surprised the guy won't respond.
No, I'm not. I'm upset that he won't. I am upset because he should be better than that. That anyone running for any elected office should be better than that. And that...
Well, I know what I would do if I was Riley.
What?
I would confirm that it was true. And if it was true, I'd take to the guy and I'd say, I pull a Donald Trump, you're fired. And then I'll send out a press release. This is not acceptable in my campaign. I fired the guy immediately. End of story.
You would think that would be the case. You would think it would be that simple.
That's what most people do. In fact, that's what they do when everybody gets caught under the Project Veritas undercover videos. 95% of them get fired the next day, and they send out a press release saying this is unacceptable. The person got fired. No,
what's happening now is that they are, by the way, the local news media refuse to cover the story. They know about this. They have been sent the evidence. They have been made aware of this. They don't think it's a big deal. His campaign doesn't think it's a big deal. They don't think enough people will see this to be able to affect the election.
There's a D in front of his name, so he has this cloak of protection.
You know what? That cloak of protection is based on the idea that he actually cares about racism and protecting people, and that means he should step up.
He cares about winning the seat first, and then everything else.
I know that. You know that, and I'm making the public aware of that because that's the position he says. He says that he's there to protect women. He's there to protect minorities. He's there with his party to care for us. And he cares so little that when shown an example of absolute racism that is unquestionable, his answer is, that doesn't change the votes enough. I don't have to care.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, it doesn't look like you at all.
Oh, you're funny. You're funny. But I mean, again, I'm not personally upset. I don't care about these racists. They make their statements all the time. I could care less.
But you act so surprised at the hypocrisy.
I'm not surprised by it. I want people to, but I am passionate about people being aware of this, that they cannot hide behind this lie.
I get that part. No, I'm with you, brother.
And that's the part I'm passionate about. That's the part I care about. I personally, we're in politics. We're in politics. I got a thick skin a long time ago. I've had death threats to my face coming from progressive leaders of tomorrow and some of the others. I don't care. These cowards aren't going to do anything to me.
God, you should hear what I used to hear when I was a councilman.
Exactly. I mean, so I don't care about these things. That's meaningless to me. What is meaningful is that they are going out and they are lying to the public to get power and to maintain power.
I remember one time in the early 2000s, I was in my store talking to a customer, and this lady come in and started screaming at me.
Mm-hmm.
I hope you die, you mother F, and this and that, just screaming, acting obnoxious. And then she left, and the customer goes, who was that? I go, that's my ex-wife. And he started laughing. You just took it with a grain of salt. I just laughed at him.
Mm-hmm.
He just laughed. I hope you die a horrible death. And I'm like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. It's,
It's just comical. I had a guy scream in my store one time that he wanted to confront John Cordisco, that racist council member. And so he didn't realize it was me he was talking to. So I says, come back at 2 o'clock. John will be here. He comes back, all loaded for bear, right?
yeah.
Where's John? I go, right here. I'm John Cordisco. No, you're not. I know John, and you're not him. I'm like, what? So this is what you deal with. It's just the way it is. I think you have to laugh it off.
No. I don't have to let it bother me, and it doesn't, but I do have to identify it, and I do have to take it seriously, and I do need to be passionate about it. But no, I don't have to laugh it off at all.
It's because I think the people that don't care about that are going to be etched in stone forever, and the other 45% that agree with you are etched in stone. It's the 10% in the middle you're going to have to try to persuade on this craziness.
No, people aren't etched in stone on this. They aren't, and they haven't been.
No, they're
not.
You ask the average person if they read that article if it was proper or not. Way majority of people say that was absolute BS and it's wrong.
You can't look at that and you cannot look at that and say that isn't racist, and you can't say that you can't denounce that. Not if, especially if you have progressive values. You cannot defend that. Cannot. It's not possible.
Well,
which means in doing that, they have to then recognize their bias.
A lot of the time, I do defend it with their silence. That's defending.
And, well, that's because if they have to answer, if they are called to answer, which I am asking for, they have to recognize their position. And we need to do that.
The old Dave Chappelle joke about Jesse Smollett. And he said, listen, he says, Jesse Smollett was gay, and he said he was attacked by MAGA guys in Chicago. You know the whole story. And the press was really upset because the so-called black leaders and black community weren't sticking up for Jesse. He says they didn't realize, of course, that by our silence, we were sticking up for him because we knew he was lying. So sometimes being silent on something is their way of approving it. They just don't say anything.
Well, then, and again, the public, the voters, need to know about this before November 8th, before they do their mail-in ballots. They need to be aware of this. And I definitely would ask people who are watching this, share
I
this.
agree.
This is what it's about. It's share this. If he wants to be silent all the way through, fantastic. By the way, if you're going to be silent about this, Josh, never call me again. Never contact me again. Because I don't need people who can't stand up against racism, especially this kind of blatant racism. If you can't stand up to that, forget it. But,
I got you.
But I want people to know about this. I want people to see this. And I want him to, if he's not willing to make the statement, people should know that's the kind of person you are voting for. This is what you are voting for. Just like with Paul Pelosi, and we know that, okay, that's opening up a question. Looking at Bob Menendez, the fact that Bob Menendez is under investigation again, that he is looking to be, I don't know if you knew about this. Bob Menendez is under investigation, federal investigation. He's looking to be charged again. We have Hunter Biden who's being charged again. These are things that are important for people to know before the election. These are questions, and they must be answered, I think.
That's why things that are kind of related but unrelated, like Mitch McConnell took millions of dollars from the Senate candidate in New Hampshire and backed up Murkowski in Alaska. People think, well, that's just politics. Well, this politics will affect these investigations that are coming.
Yeah. And this is a big
Whoever
deal.
controls the Senate, we got to make sure we have a little bit of buffer for the 3 or 4 devout rhinos that are in the Senate. We have to have these investigations. So taking away money from a Senate race that's neck and neck because you don't like the Republican that's there and then backing a person the Republicans didn't pick in Alaska is going to affect all of these committees and hearings.
Yes.
And that's what we're gonna see. Now the problem is a lot of the senators on both sides of the aisle and in Congress are so dirty that they're all together, they're all Legoed together. So if you get one, the whole house of cards will fall. So I'm not so sure if we're going to get the justice that the American people seek from their elected officials.
Let me do this. And I understand your point, but we'll see. Let's ask everyone else. I know there's several.
I know one thing for certain.
Yeah.
For absolute certainty, we can guess how far they'll go and how much they'll clean house and how much we'll get our republic back. We can talk about all these things, but it's a multi-step process. And step one is getting the Democrats the hell out of Congress, at least where they position of authority. That is step one. We can't do any of the other steps without step one.
Yes, I agree with you. We got to do step one, which means we have to have people vote.
We'll take these battles as they go along. The first battle is November 8th, and then we continue the next battle, and the next battle, and the next battle. But they all have to be in order.
I agree. And this is part of making people aware. We have to understand the consequences.
Everybody out there, I'll leave you with this. When you go to vote, first of all, try to vote in person if you can. Number two is try to bring at least 3 people with you to vote. Go out and have a couple of drinks or maybe something to eat after and make a little party out of it. And if everybody does that, then the Democrats, at least the progressive ones, will be put out of power. And that's step one.
That is step one. And I think that's a good process.
Okay. Well, I'll see you later, Sherlock. Have a good day.
All right, man.
I didn't know there was a black Sherlock Holmes. Is that the new Disney film?
No, not that I know of, but who knows?
Well, maybe you ought to put him in there. Maybe you can get that Paisley shirt you got there, and you need a Paisley shirt with that pipe. That's what you need.
Again, you're assuming I'm doing it because of any reason besides that I'm just out of cigarettes.
You get a hold of the BBC and see if they'll let you step in the new episode of Sherlock.
You're funny. You're funny.
All right, dude. I'll see you later.
All right.
Take care.
You too.
Bye.
Bye. So, folks, just like John, you too can call into the program to share your thoughts about all of the issues that matter. I keep forgetting where the camera is because my camera's usually in another spot, so it's throwing me off today. But you too can call in, just like John has, and to speak about any issue that matters to you. We started off, we were talking about the international policy, the failure of the Biden-Harris administration in terms of North Korea, and how that affects Southeast Asia, our allies in Japan and Korea and Taiwan. We were talking about how the Middle East, how Iran and the Iran nuclear deal, the Biden-Harris administration's failures there, their capitulation, and their attempts to win over and buy off Iran, even as Iran is aiding and abetting terror on a global scale. We were talking a little bit about that. We're talking about Paul Pelosi and the fact that there are so many questions that are facing the public, and the news media will not answer any of them for fear of it somehow affecting the next election. Even though these questions beg us to have answers, they beg for answers and say something doesn't make sense, and we can't trust our news media if they're leaving questions, obvious questions, unanswered and unasked. We've been talking about the racist attack against ourselves in the New York 19 race. And one of the candidates, the Democrat, Josh Riley, who has known me 7 years, and his silence as the Democratic supporters show themselves to be racist, sexist, homophobic in their words, in the images they put out there, unapologetically. And the Democrat in the race has nothing to say. The Democrat who's supposed to be supporting women, who's supposed to be supporting gays and transgendered, is supposed to be there for black people. This is what he is running on. Josh Riley is running with his party on this idea that he is some kind of savior for all these minority organizations and groups And yet, at the end of the day, he's also the same person who's absolutely being silent when his supporters is doing exactly what he said he's trying to protect us from. He is attacking, again, sexist, ageist, homophobic, and racist. And Josh has nothing to say about that. Oh, I don't want to talk about that. That's not important. Even though it's someone I've known for 7 years, he doesn't want to talk about it. Think about this. And I want to be very clear. If he is willing to say nothing, and he knows me, he's had beers with me, he's introduced me to his dad as we were hanging out, he talked for 7 years on the phone from DC all the way up here. If he's not willing to take care or defend me, if he's not willing to say racism is bad, sexism, ageism, homophobia being directed against this black Hispanic, if he's not willing to say that about me and he knows me, what the hell is he going to do to you? How is he going to treat you? He doesn't know you. For the New York 19th, he doesn't know you people. He hasn't been upstate New York in decades. He doesn't know you. He doesn't care about you. He has no idea about your life, the town you're in, the daily living, the situations you're going through. He doesn't know or care. And if he won't defend people he knows against obvious attacks, what's he going to do to people he doesn't know? Because power apparently is more powerful and more important than doing the right thing. It's a page straight out of Joe Biden and Afghanistan. 5,000 Americans abandoned. Why? Because Joe Biden wanted to look like he was doing the right thing. He wanted to say, I'm leaving Afghanistan. Didn't care about the people, still doesn't care about the people because he has to admit he failed in Afghanistan. He would have to say, I made a mistake. I need to get those Americans back home. Joe Biden doesn't want to talk about that. The media doesn't want you to think about that because it might affect your vote in an election. They don't want you to think about the fact that last month, Biden told for the second time every single American, 10,000 people in America, 10,000 Americans in the Ukraine, he told them, figure it out for yourself. Get home if you can. America will not lift a pinky to help you out. That's what he said. He said it with Lester Holt on NBC News in February. He said it again a month ago through the State Department. He said that a year ago in Afghanistan. And now we see Josh, and I have to ask, if Josh Wiley is following that kind of leadership, if that's what he's falling behind, then what are the rest of the Democrats going to do? They don't care about you. They care about power. They care about winning. And if there is any single Democrat, any of the candidates would like to dispute this with me, Donna Lopardo, Jason Garnar, Josh Riley, Antonio Delgado, Kathy Hochul, Eric Adams, let's go to, give me a second, Kamala Harris, Nancy Pelosi, Kirsten Gillibrand, Chuck Schumer, Joe Biden. If there is any Democratic candidate across this nation that would like to dispute this with me, guess what? Call me up. I'll give you as much time as you need. We can have this conversation. I'm not afraid. I will have this conversation. Tell me how I am wrong. And every time the answer I get back is silence. That's what they're going to do. And you need to know this because you need to know this before the election. They're not willing to do anything for people they know in the face of obvious, absolute racism, the worst, most disgusting forms of racism. Then guess what? You are way out of luck, my friend. If they won't take care of people they know facing obvious attacks of racism, sexism, homophobia, then you can be LGBTQAI++, whatever, call yourself a toaster, and they're going to throw you under a bus so far and so fast, your head will spin. But they just want that vote. But remember, vote Democrat. Because the world's fantastic. Rainbows and unicorns and, oh, everything's fantastic. Take another puff of that illegal drug because everything is great as long as you vote for them and don't ask questions. Don't think about it. Let me go back to some of the comments here. So user has been banned likes the pipe that I'm smoking here and has said that would I wear a straw hat if I were sent one? Only if it were for a charity event. Only if it were to help raise money for kids or something. But no, I would not wear a straw hat otherwise. And again, I'm smoking the pipe because I don't have cigarettes at the moment. And no, I don't smoke illegal drugs. No. Monocle, I would wear a monocle. If I had a monocle, I would wear a monocle. Dow says, essentially calling for acknowledgement and repudiation of the behavior is tantamount to putting your money where your mouth is. Yes, I am asking Josh Riley and all the Democrats to put their money where their mouth is. I would love to hear from Don Lapardo and say that was disgusting and abhorrent and it should never be allowed. I would love to hear from Jason Garnar, Antonio Delgado, Kathy Hochul. I'd love for them to do it. But I don't know those, and well, I do know Donald Lapardo. I would love for them to step up and say something, but they won't. They're going to ignore it. They're going to hope no one sees it and that it doesn't change enough votes. They're playing the numbers game. They think that it's okay as long as no one sees it until after the election, and then it doesn't matter anymore. It's terrifying. The user has been banned says, to be fair, I just see it as their real opinions. Well, I can say that Josh, in the interactions I've had with him for 7 years, that's not I've never seen him be a racist or a sexist in my, at least what I have seen. But I guess if he has to make a choice between making a statement that could cost him 1 or 2 votes with racist supporters versus making a stand for what he believes in, I guess, he wants the votes more. And people should know that. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's incredibly disgusting. I think it's horrible. And I would say that for a Republican, Democrat, I don't care. I have said this when we have seen racists of any type step up. I will denounce them. Always have. This channel has always denounced racists and those who have taken racist actions, sexist actions, homophobic actions. We don't believe in that. We don't believe in violence. We have stood up and made that statement over and over and over again for decades. At least I can be consistent. I don't know. It's very upsetting, folks. And not upsetting like, oh, boo-hoo-hoo, I'm going to cry. I could care less. It's not like I'm afraid. It's not like it's the first time I've ever seen them do this before. I mean, they do it all the time. It's that you are being lied to. That you are being lied to. That they are using this opportunity to try and get votes. And votes are more important than you. That's the problem. That's the insulting thing. And if they are willing to do it, and I'll say it again, if they are willing to do it to me, someone he knows, if he is willing to do it to people that he knows and has interactions with, what the hell are they going to pass as laws? What are they going to do when consequences of their actions are going to harm people they don't know? You think he's going to be nicer to people he doesn't know? You really need to vote based on that. You really need to vote on that concept that he doesn't care about you, cares about your vote. The party cares about your vote. The Democratic Party cares about your vote, not you as a human being. They don't care what happens to you. They care what happens to your vote. And that difference is scary. If you think I am wrong, if you think I have misunderstood that, if you think the evidence I am presenting is incorrect, call in 607-242-1582. John Cordisco was just calling in. He can cover it. You can talk about it too. We've seen lots of people. Dal and User has been banned. Mike Bowie, Jan Rains. People have been commenting on this on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, as much as Facebook will allow it to be commented on. You know what? You can make the comment or you can call in. Tell me why I'm wrong. And I can tell you, in the news media, local news media, they don't think I'm wrong. They don't want to touch this. They don't want to bring up an issue. They are terrified. Terrified. They are terrified that someone is going to pay attention to this and say, hey, you should ask the candidate this. Because they're terrified of the answer. They don't want to deal with this. They are running away from this story as fast as they can. Don't believe me? Ask Spectrum News. Ask WBNG. Ask WNBF. Ask them. They know the stories out there. They've received a copy of it. They don't care. I don't know. Maybe. And again, I will ask you, am I wrong? By the way, you can see this video all by itself. The link is in the description below in the live stream. You can see it in the description. You can go see the video for yourself. You can see the evidence for yourself. It is made and put out there in context so that you have no question about what the complete context is. And we show all the receipts. All the receipts. Tell me, what do you think? Yes, Agent Black, I know. A red wave is on the way, and hopefully that will change things. But that only happens if people go out and vote. That only happens if people are aware. And I do not want a Republican to react in the same way. I don't want a conservative or a libertarian or the Green Party. I don't want anyone to ever think that they can get away with this. And I will call them out. And it will cost them votes. It might cost the election, but it will cost votes. I will stay on this, and I will make sure people are aware of this. Don't think I won't keep this out there and let people know, because it's important. You know, you may think Paul Pelosi getting beaten down with hammers by his potentially undercover lover, you may think that's fun. That's, Kardashian level politics, quite honestly. That's the Kardashian version of politics. This is a core issue. And it affects you if you're gay, you're trans, you're a woman, you're a man, if you're white, you're black, you're Hispanic. This is a core issue that will affect you for decades. So yeah, we need to be involved in this. And again, I will give Josh or Donald Lepardo or Antonio Delgado or Kathy Hochul as much time as they could ever want to respond to this, especially if they think I'm wrong. I will give them as much time. I am not restricted like the mainstream news media. They don't need, I'm not going to restrict them to 2 minutes, 30 seconds. I will give them as much time unedited to answer the question and refute my claims as they want. If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me why. Show the public that you care. Somehow, I think it's going to be empty. What? Where is this? The hammer guy? Paul Pelosi's potential lover was a New York Post employee. That's no news to me. Didn't hear about that. But let's, and by the way, folks, anyone can call in. Anyone can call in at any time, talk about anything. But I think, so we've talked about what's happening overseas, how this election will affect overseas. We know that there is a food crisis that is on its way. We know that there is we are in a recession, and it is getting deeper and it is getting worse, and they cannot hide it anymore. We know that there are issues about race and religion and racism that are on the edge of the knife that is affecting us. We know that illegal immigration is being affected, that this is all happening at the same time. And none of it's in our best interest. And we know that we keep being told, hey, FBI, we just need another law. We just need another law and everything will be fine. And you're going to be safe. Except we have the laws already and the government doesn't follow through as is. Remember in St. Louis? The black man who went out to shoot people at a school. The media doesn't want to talk about that. They don't want to show you a picture of him. It is a black man who got, this black man who the FBI took his gun away. Said he can't own these guns. And didn't do any follow-up, didn't check anything else. Somebody who has a history of violence and danger, and his own family kept taking weapons away from him. This is a person who has a mental issue. It wasn't about guns, it wasn't about race or religion. It was that killer had a problem, a deep mental issue, and nothing happened. They didn't follow up. This is a problem. I mean, we need to talk about these things. And Agent Black mentions that we've talked about food, fuel, nuclear, financial, political. Any crisis that I've been missing? No, I think I've covered them all. And we're not done yet. Show's not over. But I want you to understand, we need to talk about these things because the major news media is trying to brush this all under the rug. Bob Menendez, that story has been disappeared. It's just not there. I mean, dozens of subpoenas are being issued because this Democrat, Bob Menendez, has done the wrong thing for decades. And it's being brushed under the rug that other Democrats who have worked with Bob Menendez for decades are aware of the problems that he has done, and it is swept under the rug because there's an election in 10 days and they want Democrats to win. Because they don't want to think about it. This is supposed to be an October surprise that Bob Menendez is guilty as sin, apparently, potentially. And there's the surprise. See, he's going to be arrested again. He's going to be indicted again. Except absolutely no one is surprised. No one thinks that he wasn't guilty the first time they tried this. And actually, the result is going to be the same thing like with Hunter Biden, who has 450 potential charges. Let me say it again. Hunter Biden has 450 potential charges, crimes that he may have committed, which would implicate Joe Biden and possibly the entire leadership of the Democratic Party. And nobody will talk about it. It is not news. It is considered not newsworthy. Which means that Bob Menendez and Hunter Biden and Joe Biden are protected by the news media. Surprise, surprise. And you, the American public, are losing. If the media will not do its job, and they're so busy trying to be political activists, you are losing. Because the truth isn't being revealed. Because corruption is allowed to grow. And when we allow corruption to grow, we get people like disgraced former Governor Andrew Cuomo. We get people like appointed Governor Kathy Hochul as she fires 34,000 doctors. And then we see that the courts are saying that was unconstitutional. Hire those people back now. I'm telling you, this is a problem, folks. We got to address this. We really, really do. We know that these things are important. And when I say that, look at this. This is coming from Chuck Grassley. This is The FBI possesses significant, impactful, voluminous evidence of potential criminality in the Biden family's business arrangements. How many people are connected to this? How many people are connected in these illegalities that are being alleged of these 450 cases? And we know this is happening because when we look at the races, whether it's the governor's race, we look at the projections for the House and the Senate, Republicans overwhelmingly are winning. And they are winning because we know that people are fed up. They are fed up with this duplicity. Well, the only way to make sure that this doesn't continue is to make sure that we hold them all accountable and we let them know that if they do this, we are paying attention and it will cost them. We will make sure that they get tried, that the crimes are going to be held against them. They're going to get trials and investigations, and they're going to lose elections and they will lose donations because we are paying attention. We need to scare them so that they will not do it again. And I know what they're going to say. Well, Mike, you just don't understand. It's Republicans. It's because of the corruption of Republicans. Republicans, according to Democracy Docket, which means the left. What does the far left say? Republicans insist either they win or they were cheated. See, it's a bias, Mike. You're just saying this because you want to say that you're going to cheat. No. Remember, it was Democrats that said in 2016 that the Mueller probe needed to exist, that President Trump worked and colluded with Russia, said that lie for 3.5 years, spent $35 million on 4 different investigations to tell us, well, it's, what did they say? Either the Democrats won, either Hillary Clinton won, or you cheated. You spent 5 years telling us that. And now when we say, oh, well, there might be a question, oh, we got to make sure about our elections. No, you can't say that. That's not true. That's not true. You spent 5 years, tens of millions of dollars on TV nightly, Adam Schiff, with Rachel Maddow, telling us, nope, I've got evidence. It's absolutely true. Where's your evidence? Adam Schiff, you are the new McCarthy. Rachel Maddow, you're the new McCarthy. You promise us there's evidence. You're absolutely sure. You can prove it. And you never, ever provide any evidence. And once the investigations are done, no proof. You lied. You lied. And that hurt America. That hurt Americans' confidence in America. That hurt the world's confidence in America. You helped bring us to where we are today. A lack of leadership, a lack of respect. We have global countries that are going around, global terrorism on the rise. We have crime rising in this nation, a lack of respect for law and order, and you guys helped to bring that through. Because you insisted, oh, no, you just don't understand. Yeah, I do. Yeah, we do. Let's see. Looking at the comments. Yeah, it'll be Abrams Fetterman 2024. They can save our. This is coming from John Cordisco. Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, you have a black female and a disabled man. Yeah, you can't say anything about any of them. So of course that would work. Yeah, that's interesting. John, you may have come up with the next 2024 combination of Democrats running for election. Let's see here. Agent Black out of the United Kingdom says major U.S. election case involving China. Koenig versus True, the vote. Judge threatens to arrest them on Monday. I don't remember that one. I do not remember that case. But that sounds interesting. That sounds like an interesting case. And Agent Black, send me a link. You have my number. Send me a link, and I'll try and look into that. Now, I did want to mention, and I think this is going to be very interesting for a lot of people. there is a gentleman, a candidate, that I want to point out. This is an independent. It's not a Republican. It's not a Democrat. There's this guy, Mike Itkes. Mike Itkes is crazy. And I think we need to talk about this because it shows how far devolved we are watching everything get. We are watching, I just don't even know how to describe this. The complete failure of everything in America. So this is an image I want to show you. There he is. Mike Itkes. And Dow was the one who showed me this. I want to hear what people have to say about it. Mike Itkes is running against Ralph Nader. I believe it's the New York 10. He's running as a candidate for Congress. He's running by showing and using a sex tape to make money. Okay? He's trying to raise up money by having a sex tape that is out for the public to see, pornography, essentially. He's using pornography to fund his election campaign. He thinks this is a positive. And his answer is, well, it's because I'm trying to promote hookers. He's trying to promote sex workers. It's called, if you go by the left-leaning point of view, they call them sex workers. In other words, regular people call them hookers. So he's hiring hookers. He's having sex with hookers on camera. He's uploading that to porn sites so that he can make money, so he can run against Ralph Nader, because Ralph Nader is a bad guy. Mind you, Ralph Nader is a bad guy. Ralph Nader doesn't care about human beings. Ralph Nader is all about the power, has been for decades. But the answer is not Mike Itkes, the guy who is funding hookers and sexual, I think it's Pornhub. I'm sorry. This is crazy. By the way, Agent Black, you won't be able to send the email to me directly. You won't be able to send the email, the link on chat because it's blocked. But reach me at, send it to, here it goes. Hang on a second. Oh, God, I hate this computer. Hang on. Yeah, send the email there, and then I'll check it out later. So this is, I got to ask people, do you want an elected official that is a porn star? Would you elect a porn star? We've seen several porn stars over the years that have run for elections, normally in California, almost exclusively in LA and San Francisco, and they always lose. But now we have the opportunity. I have to ask you, what do you think? Do you think that this guy, this Mike Itkes, do you think he deserves to be able to get the win? Do you think this is a good alternative to Jerry Nadler? I understand if you're looking at him, yes. If you are considering if you had to have sex with either Jerry Nadler or Mike Itkes, I would be a monk and not have sex at all. But this is your choices here. But this is ridiculous, folks. Where is it? The news is being covered all over the place here. Man. Mike Itkes, who is a long shot, and I believe the long shot got even longer, to unseat Jerry Nadler next month for New York's 12th. Sorry, I said the 10th. It's the 12th congressional district. Now, in a video released having sex on camera, posted to a porn site. It was with porn star Nicole Sage, was one of the most meaningful experiences in his life. Meaningful to have sex with a porn star. Okay. Creating the video significantly influenced his political platform. This woman, having sex with this woman was so mind-boggling to this guy. She so turned him upside down and around that this guy decided to change his entire campaign because the sex was just that good. Apparently, if you're having sex with a porn star, and in particular Nicole Sage, be prepared. She's going to change your world. She's going to rock your world. Can you imagine that? I mean, that's just crazy. Yeah, Dow says, but he just wants to start a conversation. I don't think he's trying to start conversations. I think he's trying to start activity. You know, but it's kind of sad. We've seen this tried in California. Now, we all accept that Hollywood, San Francisco, Los Angeles, they're a waste of space. Everyone accepts that they are useless. And we generally accept that California is a hellhole of progressivism. I think we all accept that. We know that they are in debt. We know they are horrible for businesses. We know that millions of people are escaping from there on a regular basis because they're complete failure. So when we see that in California, porn stars run for elected office, no one's really surprised because it's part of the failure that is California. It's part of the failure that is progressive politics. So we don't get surprised by that. But now we're seeing this in New York State. And then I'm thinking, and it's happening in New York State, well, how long before we start seeing it in Illinois? How long before we see it in Maryland, New Jersey, Delaware? How many Democratic strongholds will we see this in? That this will be considered a norm, and they will just blame it on, well, I support sex workers. I support people and their sexuality. So I can go and have sex with them on tape and raise money for it, which used to be called being a hooker. That's what we used to call it back in the day. It's called being a hooker. I don't know. I'm old. I'm 54 years, almost 55 years old. 70s, 80s, 90s, we would consider that being a hooker, and we would consider it being, that's a negative. Let me ask you, do you think it's a positive? Would you vote for someone because you saw their sex tape? Would that make you more likely to vote? I don't know. Maybe there's a secret cabal of prostitutes that are going to change elections across America. I mean, is that what you think? Mike Itkis stands with the little guy. You're funny, Dal. You're funny. Yes, user's been man. Political correctness is a cancer. Absolutely. By the way, Jan, I did see that you laughed. Thank you for being with us as long as you have been. We always enjoy everyone being here. By the way, I should mention to everyone, please like, subscribe. It is important. We value you. And we do hope that you'll take an opportunity to like, share everything we've been talking about, and most of all, subscribe so that we can reach more and more people, because I don't think most people get to see these issues or have a chance to talk about them. And we're willing to do that for you. So we do hope you like, share, and subscribe. There's such a crazy movement right now with the progressives and this whole political correctness. We're seeing this all over the place. So we've got this, I mean, think about it. We've got this guy, Mike Itkis, and here he is. Progressivism leads him to saying, hey, the best way to help people be aware of sexual slavery that's in America, that's being promoted because of the open border, the best way to deal with prostitution is to have sex with a porn star, and that's the best thing. LeBron James is out there, and he's saying that, hey, He's upset because Twitter is allowing 500% increase in the amount of people who are saying the N word. And I want you to think about this because this is really important. It's not that more, see, it's not that it was never being said on Twitter. It's not that people weren't using the N word before. And there's an increase right now. Who's saying it now? Who's saying it? You know, we're seeing it from supporters of the left. We're seeing it from people who support Josh Riley. We're seeing it from people who support Mike Itkes. We're seeing it from people who are supporting LeBron James. That's where we're seeing this from. This is a 500% increase from the left to demonize the right. It's not coming from the right. It's not coming from Republicans. These are progressives who are now using this to demonize people they don't like. See, that's something they leave out. Oh, it's Elon Musk's fault. Elon hasn't changed anything except the CEO of Twitter. He didn't change the programs. He hasn't had enough time to do that. There's no evidence of that. No. What happened, what changed is the left decided to try and make an example and decided to attack people they don't like. And now they're going to say, but, you know, it's because of racism. It's because of racism. The racism is coming from the left, and I'm showing you the receipts. This is the receipts. It's coming from the left. But the bad guys are, but I'm the bad guy because I'm the target, the victim. Yes, you're right, Mary. Mary is absolutely correct when she says there's so much craziness that's going on. But we need to call it out. And you need to vote. It is absolutely essential that you need to vote. Because if you're not voting, if you're not pointing these things out, then what happens is PayPal turns around, lies to you, and says, oh, well, we're going to charge you $2,500 if we don't agree with your opinion. Everyone says, oh my God, you can't do that. And then they say, well, no, that was a typo. We wouldn't ever do that. And then turns around 2 weeks later after you forget and do it anyway. By the way, this is coming from Forbes. Forbes. This article was up there October 27th, 3 days ago. PayPal still at it. PayPal is going to charge you $2,500. They're going to punish you because they don't agree with your opinion. Because they don't think you're going to remember. Because they think that Democrats could win in the elections. Because they are supporting the far left. And they think you're going to forget so they can get away with anything they want. They're positioning themselves so that they can punish you for daring to say anything about what they do. Kind of scary, folks. Dow mentions that the point was made that leftist actors from the Tumblr crowd had already vowed that if Elon bought Twitter, they were going to mobilize and break the platform by N-bombing the crap out of it. Maybe that's what happened. I don't know Tumblr. But it does seem to be kind of interesting that these things have been happening. It's not because of the right. It's not the right who are trying to get this done. It's the left. It's the left who are trying to demonize and terrorize people based on religion, sexuality. They're the bad guys here, quite honestly. I don't know. Now, of course, if you think I'm wrong, you're more than welcome to call in to the program, 607-242-1582. You can call in anytime and tell me what you think, if you think I'm wrong or if you think I'm right. You can tell us what your opinion is. What's the biggest issue that's facing the consequences? And by the way, I want you to think, these are the consequences. We have politicians like Josh Riley. like Mike Itkes, that if they get elected, they're not going to care about you. They already have an agenda. You're not part of it. That we have people like Bob Menendez who are being investigated, but as long as they maintain power, they're never going to be touched. Like Hunter Biden, they're not going to be touched. You'll be punished. PayPal's going to punish you as fast as they can. But these elite progressives, no, they get away with everything unless you vote. The rest of the world is watching this to make sure if they can see weakness continue to grow in America, that we're missing our recruitment numbers, that we are falling apart, fighting amongst ourselves in our nation. They're watching this and they're looking for their opportunities. And it's only a matter of time before North Korea stops firing missiles over the heads of Japan, over the heads of South Korea and our allies, and starts hitting them directly and possibly takes a couple of shots at us too. And right along with them will be Iran. Iran, who is more than happy to supply weapons and arms and oil to Russia to help them in their war because they don't like America. And they'll be more than happy to supply weapons and arms and oil to North Korea because they don't like America. Iran doesn't care. They don't like America. This is why these elections are important. You're not just sending a message to the Democrats, you're sending messages to the world about our leadership, about our foresight, about understanding the consequences of elections. I mean, do you see what I'm saying here, folks? Because if you don't, tell me. I know Mary is saying that she thinks it's absolutely correct. Okay, maybe you do, maybe you don't. Tell me what you're seeing out of this. Because I think these things are very important. I do think they are connected. And I think that, when we look at this, when the world is looking at this and they listen to Democrats say, we believe in protecting people, but they only believe in protecting certain people at certain times, well, that means they don't care about any of the people at any time because it's all about politics. What they care about is the politics. And if the world is watching and saying, they only care about the politics, then all we have to do is what Iran is doing. Dance with the politics, keep America dangling on the edge of a hook for the politics because they want a political win, and get as much as they can and take advantages of as much as they can and support all the people who will destroy America because we're too distracted. Does that not make sense? Am I misunderstanding that? Dow says, did you see the North Korean construction and police crews being loaned to Russia in the Ukraine? No, I did not, but I'm not surprised. I am not surprised by that. Because again, North Korea, Iran, China, Russia, they are working essentially together. None of those countries like each other. Let's be very clear. They hate each other. They hate America more. That's the key. That's the thing that binds them all together. All of those countries, Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, they hate each other, but they hate America more. And so they will work together to get rid of America. And America, which isn't smart enough at the moment because we have a leader who needs a cue card to tell him where to sit down in a room because of our failure or lack of leadership, we're not noticing that they are ganging up on us and setting us up. They are working in concert. They are having conversations and they are taking actions together that are consequent, that are planning the future while we're here busy with Joe Biden trying to figure out how he's going to win the next election. And he doesn't know what's going to happen. Joe Biden, the Democratic Party, they have no concept of what's going to happen November 9th. Literally, they have no plan. This is really important. They have no plan for November 9th or any moment after that. Their next plan starts for the 2024 election. They have no plan between that. They don't know that. You're going to tell me, well, Mike, they're going to try and do something for women. They believe in women's rights. If they believed in women's rights, if they believed abortion was absolutely essential, they'd have already passed it. They have had the entire summer. They have had the entire fall. They have the ability tomorrow, Monday morning, the Democrats can come out and codify Roe v. Wade if they wanted to. They have control of the House, the Senate. They've got the White House. They can pass that tomorrow, but they won't because they want the votes. If it was such a big deal, if this is part of their master plan, they'd have already done it. They want to send out a check to certain people so that they will vote. It just so happens that the youth who don't usually show up to elections, who don't usually vote, although when they do vote, they vote Democrats, but they don't consistently vote unless they're motivated. They're not motivated. Oh, but giving them a check of $10,000, that motivates them. And yes, the loan payoff, as I am being told by some students who are, of course, going to try and get the loans, get their loans paid off, they're getting checks of $10,000, $20,000. Let me ask you a question here. Do you actually think that if the government gives you $10,000, $20,000, how many of these kids are going to spend that money? They're going to buy a car, they're going to buy a TV, they're going to buy a computer. They're going to, either in part or in whole, they're going to use that money. They're going to pay their rent. They're going to go out, get some food. They're going to get drunk. That's these students, the same college students who were irresponsible enough that not because they went to college, not because they got a student loan, but because they never intended to pay it off. They were so irresponsible, they didn't make a plan to pay off their student loans. And so they're begging and waiting for the government to step in and take care of them. They need mommy and daddy to take care of them. And those people who are waiting for the government to take care of them because they can't take care of themselves, because they are incapable of being accountable, you think those people are going to responsibly pay off their student loans because the government gave them a check? Really? If we give them a check, they're going to spend that on getting drunk, getting a TV, getting a subscription for a streaming service. They're going to spend it on everything else, and maybe they'll spend $500 on their student loans. We have wasted the money. That's what I think. If you think I'm wrong, tell me why. Tell me why the college loans are going to be better off by giving the kids a $10,000 check. You tell me why. Yeah, they'll spend it on OnlyFans. Good point. User has been banned. Now, Agent Black, when I was going back, Agent Black disagrees with some of the things I was saying about North Korea, Russia working together. Okay, I respect that. Agent Black says, I don't think that's true. It's more complicated. Russia has specifically stated it's not America they dislike, it's the DNC. I don't believe that, Agent Black. It has been consistent over time. We're talking about over decades. And we're talking about Putin, who used to be part of the KGB. He grew up under a culture of communism. He doesn't like America. He was taught, he was raised with, he helped to enforce this idea about America, about freedom, about the Constitution. So I truly believe the leadership, they're not young kids. They're not about the DNC. They're about America, the Constitution, the backbone. So they may say, well, no, we just don't like the DNC. No, they don't like any of it. The DNC, just by saying they don't like the DNC, the Democrats of America, then they just help to add more friction, because then the DNC says, see, that Russia loves Republicans, therefore Republicans are bad guys. And that just helps to create more conflict by them picking one side. The reality is they don't like America. They never have. Not the leadership. Not right now. Yes, many of the people love America. I know that. I've been there. I've actually been in that nation. I've actually lived there. So I know what I'm talking about. But the government, no, they don't like us. Datolice. Is that how you pronounce that? Datolice? Datolce, I guess. Datolce? I don't know what that is. OnlyFans. What's that supposed to mean? I don't get it. Anyway. This is not advertising for OnlyFans. Dow says, I think Kamala isn't ready to assume office yet. She was shown jumping to keep Biden from falling off a stage when he wandered off the other night and was about to walk off the tall end with no stairs. Well, here's the thing. Dow, if before January of 2023, we see Kamala, then she isn't able to get 10 years in office. If she takes office in January, she will have 10 years that she could potentially be. She would have 2 years to fill in, to take the time away from Joe Biden, and then she would get to run for a re-election, and then she would get to run for re-election again. So she could get a decade under Kamala Harris, which is a nightmare. Truly, it is. So she wants to make sure that Biden is there up until January, but not necessarily after that. Let's see here. Agent Black mentions that the Russian Federation isn't the old USSR. We've been programmed to believe Russia is the enemy. And I agree with you, Agent Black. And I know you have a mindset coming from the United Kingdom because you live there and you're seeing what Europe sees. No, they're not the old USSR, but their leadership is. And they have been greatly influenced that. And so a lot of their thinking, their logic starts in that spot, that mindset, and then elevates beyond. And I think it is absolutely logical to assume that a member of the KGB would say it is in the best interest of Russia to have Americans fighting amongst themselves. And one of the easiest ways to get Americans to fight amongst themselves is to tell one group of Americans that Russia supports them and that they do not support another group of Americans. And that will spark the fight amongst the Americans, which is to the benefit of Russia. And that thought, that ideology, that thinking comes from the old USSR, the old Soviet bloc mentality. At the same time, this is what helps to promote the Democratic Socialists of America, which Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the Squad, Ilhan Omar, Cory Bush, that they all believe in, which is socialist communism. It gives them the opportunity that while Democrats and Republicans are fighting amongst themselves, these progressives, these socialists, get to move into that space and try and take over. That's what I believe. You could tell me I'm wrong, and you are saying that you think I'm wrong, but I believe that's a fact. The Russian people aren't the enemy. The governments, we're talking about government. It's like when I'm talking about progressives, when I'm talking about Democrats, when I'm talking about government, we're talking on a governmental national level. There are plenty of Democrats that I know that are perfectly nice people. There's my parent, my mother, my brothers and sisters. I know lots of Democrats, and I think they're good people. But we're talking on large scale on the government. So yes, are there Russian people who are good, great people? Yeah, absolutely. I know lots of them. Do I think the government under a Putin, do I think the government with the people in the background who were raised and grew up under the USSR, the Soviet government, the SSSR, do I think they are tainted? Yes, absolutely. I understand you're saying, and Agent Black is saying, and you may be more up to date on this than I am. I don't listen to everything that Putin gets to say. I try and follow the international news on this. I am limited because America restricts our ability to actually hear the full, unfiltered context. So I get more of a biased filter of what's being said. But I truly believe the core of their belief is to cause dysfunction and have one side fight the other for them while they get to win. Maybe I'm wrong, but until I get to speak to Putin or one of the elected officials of Russia, well, I'll never know. So who knows on that one? Although I think it's in the best interest of the public to have some doubt. Really? That's out. I think it's in the best interest to have some doubt and not to trust them too much, because I have very little faith in them. That's my point of view. Wow, we're going fast today. We've covered so much ground. It's only been 2.5 hours. We have covered a massive amount of information, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you think we haven't covered enough stuff, or I don't know. And I'm looking forward to hearing what people have to say when you call in. Please, absolutely call in. Let us know what you think. Do you think I've been right so far today? Have we been covering things that are important to you? I mean, will it make a difference to you knowing that there is politicians like Josh Riley of the New York 19 that are more than happy to turn a blind eye to racism, to sexism? They turn a blind eye to homophobia. Does that not bother you? Is that going to make you vote for him or not vote for him, knowing that he doesn't care? Is it going to make you vote? Are you going to vote for a Major Mike Itkes, former armory man, who is willing to support hookers and prostitution, a man who is willing to show you pornography because he thinks that'll help you get his vote or at least make money? Is that something that you think is going to be good? Do you think that Bob Menendez, that you're going to be more willing to support him or less support him or less willing, knowing that he is under indictment again, that there are dozens of charges that he's about to get hit with? Does it make you feel more confident in the American government knowing that there are hundreds, let me say it again, hundreds of charges and evidence of charges on the entire Biden family, that they have committed crime after crime after crime? Does that make you feel more confident for America's future or less? Do you think that Democrats care about the consequences or not? I'm always happy to hear what you guys think. Let me go back to some comment here. Dow says, I think Bismarck had it right. It is best to maintain respect and friendship with Russia. That part of the world respects strength, and right now, we don't have it in America. Well, that's true of Asiatic politics. That's true of the Middle East. It's true about most of the world. Is that most of the world supports, if you have a strong leader with strong opinions, they will respect that or fear it. I mean, think about it. Trump, Reagan, you may not like them. You may not think that they are good leaders. Doesn't matter. The world respected them or feared them. Same difference. And they stayed calm. The world would not get out of line, because when the American cowboy is in charge, they are afraid and respectful, and they back down to that strength. That's just a fact. It's not a question. It's a fact. We've seen the results. We've seen the consequences. And when we have weak presidents, presidents like Obama, presidents like Biden, presidents like even Clinton, where they're bowing and fawning all over these foreign dignitaries, telling them how great their countries are and how horrible America is, well, then we get more global terror. We get more instability in the world. we get more problems than we ever had before. So Bismarck, yeah, he's right. But he's right for a reason that I don't think he necessarily thought of at the time. Maybe I'm wrong. Now, mind you, I'm always happy to hear what other people have to say. I'm absolutely happy to hear what people want to say about this. Trump and Putin. Agent Black says that Trump and Putin and other nations are aligned against the globalists. Well, maybe. I'm not sure about that. But that's something that we can wait and see, and we'll see more about that as we go forward. I think we're going to see a lot more about that going into January of 2023. What are going to be the main arguments from the Democrats to support their point of view, considering that they have led America and the world into a recession? What are they going to say? So that could be very critical. I suppose I should also talk about something else that's kind of important. I mean, we know your vote is very important. Like John Kudisco, when he called in, it's absolutely critical that you go out and vote. Absolutely. If you want the economy, you want to be able to say, the food shortage that we have been talking about since February is here. I have been receiving this week a lot of information from some sources that are telling me iceberg lettuce, you're not even going to see it in stores. Many stores will not be able to afford.
Meet career politician Mark Molinaro.
Where'd that come from?
He handed out nearly $90 million in government contracts to campaign donors.
Sorry about that. One of my screens here threw me off for a second. We're seeing that a lot. Iceberg lettuce, romaine lettuce. There are a bunch of foods that are not going to be in stores because the mom and pop and smaller grocery stores, butcher shops, they're not going to be able to afford it. So they're not even going to try. I'm being told that you could see lettuce at $5 a head. $5 for a head of lettuce. Something that used to cost 79 cents to $1. You're talking about a 500% increase. That's what I am hearing is coming down the line. And I have to ask you, we've been asking for how many months now on this program? Go back, take a look at it. We've been saying month after month, week after week, where's the plan? There is none. Because they didn't care. Because they needed to get through the election. And now, because there is no plan, and now because Republicans are going to win, you're going to start hearing Democrats are going to come out and say, where's the plan? Where's the plan? It's your fault. You're the Republicans. You did it. Look at that. Butter is $5 to $6 a pound. Agent Black, thank you for taking the time. I know you're 7 hours ahead of us. It's like midnight your time. You're getting ready to get to work very soon. I thank you for the conversation today. I thank you for dropping in on the program. Butter, as I am being told by Tina, $5 to $6 a pound. I mean, seriously, folks, let's think about this. This is crazy. And if we're not voting on this, it's going to get worse. Sorry about that. That's the one problem with a pipe. You have to actually cultivate it. Which makes me sound quiet. As opposed to when I have cigarettes, which are easier. Sorry. So folks, let me ask you, we've been talking about so many of these issues, so many of these things that I think are important. What do you think is the most important? Is it that Hunter Biden seems to be immune from punishment, so is the Biden family? Is it that Bob Menendez will once again get away with committing crimes? No one cares. Is it that we're going to see the Democrats try and blindside the American people, telling them, oh no, Republicans, Republicans only care about winning. They will cheat when all the evidence that we have shows that the only people who've ever cheated are the Democrats themselves. That the Democrats are willing to lie to your face and that they have no care, no concern. Am I wrong? I mean, I'm happy to sit back and say, hey, I got it wrong. You know, we had our friends from the UK asking, well, you know, maybe you misunderstand Russia's position. Maybe Russia really does love conservatives and Republicans. Maybe they really do hate progressives who are socialists. Maybe. I don't think so. I don't think that helps anyone. Maybe. Let me see the comment here. Could make your own, but the cost of whipping cream and butter is twice than the amount you'll make. Yeah, it's more expensive. A lot of these things are very expensive, but you know what? You should be growing your own backyard vegetables, making deals with people who've been starting to take in pigs and cows in their backyards, small farms, local farms, backyard farms. This is more important now than ever. Truly it is. And I know there's people out there who are trying to say, well, Mike, you just don't get it because we have to apologize. The only answer is that Republicans have to apologize for being Republicans. That's the answer. That we have to compromise. And we've heard that from people like at the Binghamton Review, a conservative newspaper at the Binghamton University. When they decided to attack Republicans because this one Republican, John Rieslak, decided to be at the J6 event. Therefore, all Republicans are guilty of J6, the very worst of things that happened at January 6th. And John Rieslak has some mysterious evil plan that we didn't know about, that there is no proof of, and therefore we all have to apologize and bow down to Democrats. I think that it's stupid. That is a stupid conclusion, and I do not agree with it. I do not respect that interview by the Binghamton Review, which I think was poorly sourced, poorly worded, and does more damage than good. But Tina did make a comment. Tina says, there can be more than one thing important, but the top three for me is the economy and crime, which also combined with the open border, and our nation's weak portrayal around the world. I think most people agree with those as definitely the economy is the number one issue, which is why Democrats don't want to talk about it. Because the economy is the Democrat economy. It is the Biden economy. There is no question on that. So if they talk about the economy, they're talking about Joe Biden, which means they don't want to talk about it at all, which is why they're not connected to the American people. Josh Riley, they want to talk about all these other issues. Josh Riley, you know what got this whole thing started with me and Josh in this conversation? Do you want to know why Josh and I why this guy jumped into a conversation between me and Josh Riley and decided to call me all these racist names? Because I'll show you what it was. It's really easy. Where is it? I want you to see this. Where is it? Come on, Josh. Come on, Josh. Was it this conversation? No. Hang on. Give me a second. Let me find it here. I want to show you the conversation with Josh Riley. Because what the conversation was about, here it is. Really easy. Right here. So Josh Riley, he pinned this. This is his pinned tweet. He made this on October 27th. Upstate New York has been sold out by greed in our economy and corruption in our politics, which we have been discussing, and the corruption that is on display. Bob Menendez, Hunter Biden, potentially Joe Biden. We're seeing that in Andrew Cuomo. We're seeing that in Antonio Delgado. We've seen that in Kathy Hochul. Yeah, and you notice the common thread there is the Democrats? Yeah, I agree. Corruption in our politics. And Josh Riley is running to change that by supporting the very same criminals I just highlighted. He supports Bob Menendez. He supports Nancy Pelosi. He supports Chuck Schumer. He supports Kathy Hochul, Antonio Delgado. He supports the corruption that has been done. If you're sick of politics as usual and believe like he does in the promise of what we can do together, I hope you join us. He's lying to your face, lying to your face. So this is the post. And in that post, I said the very first thing, if upstate has been sold out, given that the Democrats have controlled New York State since the 1960s and currently have single party rule for years, who sold upstate New York? Who sold out upstate New York, Josh? Why do we want to elect Democrats that are the highlight of and are being highlighted by Josh Riley as being greedy and corrupt? It's the Democrats that did this. The Democrats have the control. They did it. And because I pointed that out, supporters of Josh, supporters of Democrats came out and decided to tell me that I am various racist slurs. Hey, this is your election, folks. You can vote for it any way you want to. By the way, just again to mention, if someone's looking at this late, normally my cameras are in a different place, so I'm used to this habit of looking in a different direction. One of my cameras broke, and eventually, once we can afford it, we will replace that and put it back in place. Also, it's why I turn my head this way whenever I'm trying to do the comments, because my screens are different than what you think. Mary says, my worry is the demasculinization of our military and cut funding, making us weak, as we are also making ourselves weak from poor government choices and weak leadership, making us wide open to not only implode, but vulnerable to countries that hate us. They are just waiting for our weakest moment to attack. That's a good point. But Mary, I think we're already there. We have emasculated. We have emasculated our military in horrible ways. See, a military isn't about whether you're male or female. Military isn't about whether you're gay or straight. Military, by its definition, doesn't care about anything. You're not even human, quite honestly, in the military. You are a thing. You are an object. You are a possession, which is why you don't have rights. You do not have a constitution protecting you when you join the military. You don't have laws that protect you as a member of the military. You have the UCMJ. You are separate because you're government property. And that's the thing that we should remember. The military isn't there to make you feel good. The military is there to protect the country at all costs, at the cost of your life and hundreds, if not thousands of other lives. It doesn't matter. That's the job. Protect the country, protect the Constitution. And if it's possible, protect yourself. But you are way down on the totem pole of the responsibilities there. So we have emasculated our military by making it about feelings, by making it about this person. Well, they're gay. They have two moms. They have two dads. They're trans. Who cares? Can they lift 150 pounds and travel 100 yards with it? Can they shoot well? Can they hit the target at 500 yards? I don't care. We don't have time. If you are being shot at, you don't have time to care about your pronouns. Sorry, your pronouns are meaningless. That's why we have a rank. We don't even call people by their first name in the military. You don't have the right to tell someone. And when I was in the service, you did, depending on your rank, you may not have the right to call me by my first name. And I wouldn't have the right to call most people by their first name. Whether you knew it or not that's even a question. Most of me, I remember Master Guns Furnell, Top Furnell. That's his rank. I don't even know his first name. Honestly, I if I ever knew it, I forgot it because he's the top. He was an E8. That's it. That's all I needed to know. He was an E8. He was one of the top in the Marine Corps. That's his rank. Master Guns, it was Master Gunnery Sergeant for now. That's it. See, that's the military. And I don't know if he was gay, straight. Well, actually, I do know. But it doesn't matter. It absolutely has no bearing on his capability to lead the troops and to achieve the goals, period. So we've actually done that. So the weakness is there. Mary, so I know this is your point, but a lot of people don't know this. So I'm trying to make sure other people get to hear this as well. But you're right, Mary. We are at our weakest moments because we are too busy playing this game of, I care about your feelings. No, I don't care about your feelings. It's the military. Don't care about your feelings. Could care less. It is absolutely meaningless and useless. Oh, but I have 2 moms. I don't care. I have 2 dads. Don't care. I'm gay. I'm straight. I'm trans. Don't care. Means absolutely nothing other than, can you do the job? And if any of those things get in the way of you doing the job, you don't deserve to be in the military. Get out. Just that simple. Just get out. If you have to focus on being trans or being gay or having 2 moms, having 2 dads, if that's your focus in the military, you're there for the wrong reason. Get out. Because you are a problem. You will get people killed. You're not an asset. You're a liability. Get out. That's it. But I see your point. And Mary, I think that's why we need to highlight this, to talk about these things and tell people being in the military isn't about you. I don't care what your needs are. I care what the military's needs are. Because the military is what gives us our freedoms so that when you get out of that military, you have freedom. And the next person has freedom. And the person after that has freedom. So that if you want to get out the military and now you want to be as gay as Liberace, I don't care. As long as you're dealing with other adults, consenting adults. If you want to go out and get and spend money on an operation to change yourself into whatever it is you imagine you should be, which could be a toaster, a cat, could be a human, whatever. I don't care. As long as it doesn't affect children. Don't care. You only get there if we have a military that protects us. Dow says, the only language in the service you need to worry about is what caliber is talking to you and to know how to get out of the way and respond. You're funny. You're funny, Dow. You need to know your ranks, respect and react and do the job. That's it. That's all you need to know. And anything else other than that, useless, meaningless, not important. Don't care. Don't care. But Mike, that's just not fair. Why? The military is not fair. Life is not fair. Who cares? But I don't feel good. I don't care. Don't care about your feelings. Where did someone get that misunderstanding that I cared about feelings in the military? I don't. Do not care. Not important. Meaningless. You are under fire. Think about any of the moments that you see. Think of all the movies you've seen, the 13 Hours, Black Hawk Down. I mean, if you want to Hollywoodize it, for people who have never been in the military and you're trying to relate to this, did you see anyone in, I don't know, Last Survivor, Lone Survivor, Black Hawk Down, 13 Hours? These are true stories. Did you see anyone running around going, how did your 2 moms feel? Hey, respect me because I'm trans. Use my they, them pronouns. No one gave a damn. Yeah, Dow says language barriers disappear because everyone speaks 12 gauge. Yeah. It's true. Don't be afraid. And here's the thing. Don't be afraid to say these things. You should not be afraid to say these things. It's not because we're transphobes or gay or anything else. There is a priority. There is a purpose and a goal. That purpose and goal has nothing, because if you're paying attention, I also don't care about whether you're straight or not. Again, does not matter. Meaningless. That's not the job. I know Mike, and Mike's correct. The more we politicize these things, the more that they are bringing politics into this, the more that we see lines between right and wrong, what the purpose of things are, it gets blurred. That's true, which is why we need to be clear about these things and why we need to speak with each other, why we need the First Amendment more than we have ever needed it before, because people are abusing the blurry lines, because they are taking advantage of that and saying, see, you are the bad guy. How dare you? That's why we need to do this, why we need to be aware of this, why we need to call this kind of stuff out, because it is insane. If we do not do that, we all suffer. And that's the problem. We're all going to suffer. Hang on a second, folks. I want to try and show you something. Oh, they removed it, didn't they? Yeah. No, I was trying to show you something, but funny movie, but you're probably right. Well, yeah, I think I am. It's scary, folks. I tell you, it's really upsetting. These are, I think these are important issues that they're affecting us all. And we're just not seeing enough respect of these issues. We're being told lies. We're being told that we should be respecting these lies. And the results are going to be devastating to each and every one of us. There is no positive outcome from Blinken saying that the Iran nuclear deal is stalled. It shouldn't be stalled. It should be dead in the water. It should never be moving forward. We shouldn't be caring about this. Iran is, remember, these are the same people on the left who are saying, oh, we've got to help women in Iran. You know, the same way that they helped women in Afghanistan, which means they forgot about them completely. But we shouldn't be working with them. We shouldn't work with the terrorists, the Taliban, nor should we work with Iran. This doesn't make any sense. So why are they telling us, oh, but we can work with them kind of, so we need to? No. Does this make any sense? Why are we doing this? So the theme of the show today is we're talking about the global depression. We're in it. We've been talking about whether it's going to be World War III or whether it's going to be three regional wars. We're seeing it develop before our very eyes. We see what's happening with North Korea in Southeast Asia. We see the Ukraine, Russia going on now and will continue for years. We see Iran is getting prepped and stepping up. We see what's happening around the world. China and Japan getting ready. Taiwan getting ready for war. We see what is happening here. The question is, where do you stand with all of this? And again, I ask you, if you think I have been wrong about anything I've said today, if you want to, you can call in 607-242-1582. You heard John Cordisco earlier. You can call in too and say, Mike, I disagree. I think you misunderstood. I think you got it wrong. Tell me why. If you think I have the wrong evidence, I'm willing to hear you. If you think my sources, which are almost entirely, 90% of the sources we use are left-leaning sources. So don't tell me you think my sources are right-leaning. That's just not true. These are unbiased sources, and it's unbiased as I can find, if not leaning all the way bending backwards to the left. And I still come to the same conclusion. So tell me, if my sources are correct, if the logic I'm using is correct, why is the conclusions I'm coming to not correct? If you think the Democrats have the best plan out there, tell me why. If you think the Democratic leadership is leading America in a good, positive direction, tell me why. Hell, even Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and the squad, they don't think that Democrats are leading America in a positive direction because they're not Democrats. They're progressives. And God help us, they're even worse. They're even more out of their mind. But they don't even think that America is going in the right direction. And they should know they're the ones leading us in the wrong path. This isn't a hard, heavy discussion this week. It's pretty straightforward. It's pretty obvious. I think it's pretty clear. I think we're making the point. And I know people have been paying attention. I know that. We just want to reach more people. We want to have more of this discussion. So when people are done watching the football game, when they're done going out and I don't know what you're doing. Halloween, you're going out to a Halloween party. After you get done with that, stop and think about this before you vote, before you take that election, that mail-in ballot or whatever you're going, or I hope, vote in person. Consider this, because there is a consequence to what you do. There is a consequence, and it will last far, far longer than that one vote. Vote for whoever you think is the best person in the world. But I tell you right now, if you don't have a reason for what you vote, if you're voting based on an ad or just because you have, it's a party affiliation, and those are your only reasons, you are going to vote for the wrong candidate 9 out of 10 times. And that means you're going to hurt people. You're going to hurt yourself, your community, everyone. You're going to be damaging people. And I truly believe Nancy Pelosi, she's a problem. I absolutely tell you right now, Josh Riley, Josh, you've had the chance to call in and tell me to take a stand against racism, sexism, ageism, homophobia. You've had it. This is your moment. You could have stood up and shown for the world as a beacon to fight against these isms that you and your party say you stand against. And instead, you're there supporting the isms. You're there supporting racism, sexism, ageism, homophobia. This is what you're standing for because they're voting for you. Josh, that's sad. If you think I'm wrong, I have had an open door opportunity for you to speak to me all year. So don't tell me I don't know what I'm talking about when you don't have the balls to actually show up and live up to your word. These consequences are going to be important as we go forward. And they're going to start, they actually have already started. We've already started seeing the consequence. Oops, sorry. I don't know. It's crazy. Dallas says, the biggest thing is to boost the signal and encourage people to buck history of the 4 out of 10 people usually voting in midterms and make it 6 out of 10, 8 out of 10. Well, I say that all the time. I want people to vote. I absolutely want people to vote. You want to see America and the world change? Go out and vote. Literally, if 8 out of 10 people vote, even for one election, the world changes. Stephen A. Smith from ESPN called it right when he said, if black people want to change the way they are treated in America, they need to vote Republican en masse, even for one election. If this midterm election, every black person voted Republican just once, I guarantee you the amount of things that would change for the black people in America between 2023 and 2024 and that election for the next presidency would be astounding. You would be amazed at how much would change in our economy and our culture to bend over backwards for black people if they had just voted all Republican for one election, just one. That's the ESPN's Stephen A. Smith who said that, and he's right. If If just people in general voted 8 out of 10 in an election, there would be a colossal change in our politics at every level of government. Everything would change because you would break the system, because the system would be terrified, because people would be involved and your voices would be heard. There is nothing more powerful that you could do than to vote. Even if you're not voting for, I'm not telling you to vote for a Republican or Democrat, Libertarian or Conservative, Green Party, Progressive. I'm not telling you who to vote for. Hell, vote and write in, I don't know, Donald Duck, Iron Man, I don't know, me, John Cordisco. Vote for, put in anyone's name, put in your own name. I don't care. The point is that they see that your voice is there, that you are making your voice heard, that you're not willing to accept to be a peon, a slave, mindlessly being a drone, being told to obey. Makes all the difference in the world. Now, yes, Dal, thank you. I do hope people will subscribe to this channel. I hope people will spread this around, like, share, subscribe, because we believe in every Sunday we are here to make sure that no matter what the football game is, no matter what else is going on, and I want you to know, hey, I'm just as human as everyone else. I'd love to see the Giants game. I love to spend time with my friends over the weekend. I love to do the same things that you do. And yet we all come here together because it's important. That even though the Kardashians may be doing something, even though there's some great TV show, some great movie, some great football game, this is a priority because it's about you. And I don't care if you watch the show live or afterwards. Doesn't matter to me because I care about you. And I want to hear your voices in the comments or any other time. Please share this so we can hear more people from around the world. We were talking to Agent Black about what's happening in the UK. I would have loved to have people from India to hear what they have to say about what's going on in Southeast Asia. I would love to hear people who are talking to us from Peru or from Chile to talk to us about why they rejected the far left, to talk to us about how all of this is impacting them. I'd love to hear people, more of the people from Sweden and Switzerland that we know are following the show, to contact us and tell us, hey, Mike, but this is how this is affecting them, about whether or not they agree with the government micromanaging their lives to the point that the government is telling them what temperature they can keep their house this winter. There are big things happening, folks, and it requires your voice, because if you are silent on these things, you will be mowed over. They don't care. Josh Riley doesn't care about 6 out of 10 people because they won't say anything. At least that's what he thinks. He only cares about the people who will vote, and he doesn't think enough of them care about racism to bother him for him to make a statement. Prove him wrong. 6 out of 10, 8 out of 10 people vote. Vote. Tell him he's wrong, that he should care about racism. He should care about sexism. He should stand up for his principles that he tells us he has, but doesn't show us he has. That's what I believe. Okay. We've been going 3 hours. Wow. Goes fast. Goes by very, very fast. What time is it? 5:30, okay. God, I'm tired today. I don't know, change of weather or something. Of course, while we're here, you can always call in. Again, number 607-242-1582. The phone line is on. You can always donate to the channel, by the way. As you can see, we have a connection to PayPal, which I would love to change because I don't trust PayPal. But you can also see it, you can see the little square as well when we're on the various different spots. And we're always happy to hear your voices. Remember, you can always download. If you are a progressive and believe in white privilege, if you believe in white guilt, if you believe that white people should apologize for being white, then you should send half your paycheck to this Black Hispanic to help pay my bills. Okay? Because those are your rules. And going by your rules, you should help me. You've seen what happened. We've shown you the evidence that we're under attack. We're being attacked, and we've shown it to you that we're being attacked by racists. Racists, sexists, homophobes are attacking us. They happen to be other progressives, but that doesn't matter. They're attacking us on this channel. And since I'm a Black Hispanic man, you as a progressive, someone who believes in white guilt and white privilege, you should be helping us. So send us half your paycheck. Now, if you're not a white progressive, if you're not a progressive that believes in white guilt and white privilege, you want to help the channel, send us $1, send us $5, send us 50 cents. I don't care. But if you're one of those progressives and you want to protect us, you want to help us, you believe in helping black people because of all the victimhood, then you should be stepping up to protect us from the supporters of Josh Riley who believe in racism, sexism, homophobia, ageism. You should protect us. Send us half your paycheck. I think that's fair. I think that's a fair request. Dow mentions that there was an Apple computer facility in Zhengzhou, where workers had been locked in and recently escaped from the fenced-in facility and are fleeing up to 100 miles to their homes to try and escape the pandemic. China Uncensored just ran a piece in conjunction with that the youth are bucking the program and are starting to subversively resist the communist government in ways not seen since Tiananmen Square. All of this stuff, there is only so far you can go before you will always see a backlash that you will see people resist because the evil that is out there will not triumph. At some point, they always fail because people always stand up for themselves. But I want to take a moment here and thank a few people. I know you've heard it before. Bear with us. I want to show you, I want to thank some of the people who make this program possible. So let me take an opportunity to do that. Oh, nope, that's not it. Is that it? There we go. I know you've heard it before. What difference does it? You make the difference. When you watch, chat, tweets, your likes and shares and your subscription, you make the difference. From across the world, you help us to keep the lights on and the stream alive. You are making the difference to fight the woke and the crazy legislation that we see before. We at No Soundbites Allowed, and I want to thank you for everything that you do in helping us reach our goal and your likes, your tweets, your comments, and your subscriptions to the channel. We want to thank you from the bottom of our heart. And this is a special thank you to those who have donated to the channel and helped us in all of our efforts. We will strive to make this channel the best that we possibly can because you deserve no less. Thank you. All right, folks. So I always want to thank the people who help to make this program possible, who help us to keep the lights on, to do the research, to have the software, to go out there and do all the things we do, to fix the cameras when they break, to keep our websites up and alive. It costs thousands of dollars to do this. So we do appreciate everybody who helps, or even people who just help us subscribe, to get us past 1,000 subscribers, to help us get to that next level. We appreciate it all. So we've been here for, whoops, just saw something. All right. I think it's my puppy and he needs to go, but it's been about almost 3.5, 4 hours. Let's take the opportunity. Yeah, that's it. I mean, unless someone wants to call in right now, 607-242-1582. I'm happy to have you call in. I'll be happy to take your call. So I'll give you a minute or so. But I want to thank you all. I thank you for showing up every week. I thank you for caring about your fellow Americans, for caring about people around the world, for pointing out the issues that matter to everyone. Sorry. And again, I'm used to my camera being in a different spot. I want to thank you. And I appreciate that you are here every week and you watch the programs and you see our shows throughout the week. We thank you. And we appreciate you. We love you. We thank you. We want you to be safe. And I look forward to seeing you every week, every Sunday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard. So until the next time, I want you to be well. I'll talk to you again soon.